shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine word from the wise. Never cast your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, say the truth is what I'm about to bring. Listen to the message I sing. I want to shine like diamond ring for you, for you, for you. The truth is what I'm about to bring. Listen to the message I sing. I want to shine like diamond ring for you. I want to thank God for the gift that He granted to me, to break down things so you can see the truth, the light with all my soul. From funk, jazz and rock and roll, I say we can man rule what's overdue. A revolution you and I may come true. We all born sinner and we won't break free until we overcome hypocrisy. So stop pointing finger, reach to the sky, listen to the message, hold your head high, say na 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 na. Hey, we need to stop speculating and move into action. The war isn't waiting, it's just getting disastrous. Time to change the way we think, what we say, what we do, strategize, find the tools to build and execute. We are the ones that's chosen, chosen. The enemy is closing, closing. They got the masses hypnotized. It's time for us to open their eyes. Word from the wise, never catch girls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine. Say word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine.
To have melanin embedded in our skin is a gift.
Oh my gosh, when I say too black, you say too strong. Too black. Too strong? Yeah.
We were born to be great.
Oh my gosh, when I say too black, you say too strong. Too black.
Born to be great.
Peace, family. Yo, thank you for joining us. Right? And I'm thrilled to announce the fact that we are now releasing our first free e-course. Come and learn about Gye-Nyame journey. See some of the stuff we do. Come and join the tribe. Tribe up with us and check out the free e-course. We'll make sure that the URL pop up right about here. And it'll probably be somewhere in here. Check us out, family, because we are building. Come and learn about Gye-Nyame journey, and let's build together.
Sambo
the wise. Never cast your girls among swine. It's
Stop! Yo! Something tells me to kill him dead up in this piece. Angry frustrations I shall release, cause I'm about to let loose the beast. Ha! Hear ye, hear ye. It's time to throw a party for it's the doomsday. If your leader, Captain Ass Crack. If you want protection, play the rear. No man in this world died.
Women, but the most important goddesses were black, not just for the African now in the civilization of the Greek. The Greek was so profoundly affected by the Africans that the goddess of chastity was a black woman, Artemis. The goddess of wisdom was a black woman, Minerva. The goddess of beauty was a black woman, Diana. And many of their great mythological figures which were critical to the vision of history, the history of the Greeks in the Odyssey, the woman who draws, who has the power to draw Odysseus and all his crew into her, is Circe, who is represented as a black woman with African features on the Greek vases. The woman who helps Jason win the Golden Fleece is a black woman, Medea. The woman who marries Perseus, the Greek hero, is a
Peace, this is Brother Hot 10, coming at you with the first episode in Folktales for Grown Folks. Now, the reason I put this together was because I wanted to at least have a place where I could start putting the folktales that I'm finding and the stories that I'm telling. And I wanted also an arena in which I can produce these folktales for grown folks, because I feel that it's important that as grown folks we look over some of the tales that we were told as young folk and look at the wisdom that came out of it. But then also I started to realize that a lot of these folk tales wasn't told to a lot of us that grew up in urban environments. We depended on the stories that was told through the TV. So I want to put these stories out so people can get the wisdom out of them, because our ancestors passed down the wisdom to us through these folk tales. And these folk tales also represent the accumulated wisdom of all cultures. So we need to be able to have a place where we could discuss these as adults, because a lot of times we look at folk tales, we look at myths, we look at legends as something for kids. No. This is something for us to learn from, something for us to learn to tell and develop the ability to tell it. And also what I also recognize is that even when you're dispensing wisdom, one of the problems is that when you give people the answers to their problems in their life, it never helps them solve it. What you have to do is give them a puzzle to solve for themselves so that they can eventually work through the problem themselves, because what happens is people become dependent on us, dependent on you to kind of guide them through. And a lot of times they don't even listen to that wisdom. And they start resenting you because they have not been able to actualize the shit that you're telling them. So what you have to do is give them a story. And that's what I'm doing with expanding the journey and moving into these folk tales for grown folks. Now, grown folks that's out there that listen to the stories, understand that you could take these stories and adapt them and just take out some of the shit that I'm saying and use it for your kids, because the wisdom in them works for you as well as the children. And like I told you before in some of my podcasts, stories and proverbs and myths and legends are layered, and depending on where you are at that point in time in your life, you'll pull something out of it. So the first tale that I'm going to share on this particular podcast is called The Magic Bird. I changed the title. Now, I found this on MP3 that I bought, and it was Nelson Mandela's favorite folk tales. And it was a beautiful story, and I immediately related it to my life and a lot of things that was going on around me, so I'm going to share it with you. Also, for other stories that I have already told, you go to Gye-Nyame, my Gye-Nyame Journey show, and go back through the podcast and find where I tell these stories, tell other stories. And I'm going to keep on adding to this one slowly but surely. So I thank you for listening, and here we go. This one is called The Magic Bird. So, once upon a time, there was a village. And in this village, of course, you had people. And it was a large village, and they had been there for generations and generations. And the people in the village had developed a system where they was able to work together. Everybody had what they need, and they structured their government to the point to where they had a chief, but the chief was actually a representative of the people. So it was peace. It was a great village, not because of war. It was a great village because of the love that held them together. Now, don't get me wrong. They would handle their business as a village when it came time, because they had their warriors, male and female, that was ready to defend their borders and defend all the shit that they had built over generations. But the strong point in this village was the love between the generations, the love within the village, because everybody had. So you had people that if you needed food, they had the food. So if you had a favorite vegetable, you would be able to trade for that vegetable. If you had a fruit, somebody in that village had the skills over generations to get you the fruit that you needed. If you wanted meat or fish or anything, you had people in there to get it. So everybody was eating good in this village, and everybody had their place in the village, and they felt like they belonged. And everything was going good until one day a magic bird popped up. Now, this was a pretty large bird, but what the problem was that this bird presented was that this bird had a voracious appetite. This bird ate all the food. Now, he ate a particular type of food, though. He didn't just eat some shit that was growing in the fields. He just didn't take the food from the fields. No. He wanted to take the food out your mouth, or it wanted to take the food out your mouth, and the food that you labored over. So if you was eating a hamburger, and I know what you're saying, brother, I tell you, there wasn't no hamburgers back then, but just work with me for a minute. Let's say you was about to eat a hamburger. All of a sudden, no matter what time of day or night you was trying to eat this hamburger, this motherfucker would pop up and snatch the food right out your mouth. He wouldn't hurt you, but he would take the food out your mouth. He only wanted prepared food. He wouldn't go to the fields and eat the wheat. He wouldn't go to the fields and eat the fruit. He wouldn't go to the fields and eat the vegetables. He wanted shit that was cooked. He wanted things that was produced and worked hard. So if you and your family was sitting around about to eat some bean soup, he would come in and take the bean soup. He wouldn't take the beans that wasn't ready. He wouldn't take the shit that wasn't prepared. He would only take the shit that you labored over. And eventually, this really started to affect what was going on in the village, because people started getting hungry and shit, and they got tired of having to eat raw shit. And even fruit. He didn't want the fruit that was sitting out on the tree. He wanted the fruit that you was about to eat. So every time you put it up to your mouth, this magic bird was able to appear and snatch your shit. And he moved so fast that if you had a spear or a knife, soon as you grabbed it to try to get him, he was gone. This magic bird caused confusion all throughout the village, and eventually the chief had to do something about it, because he was taking food from the chief and his family as well. So everybody was uncomfortable. This motherfucking bird caused so much problems that the chief said, we got to do something about it. But they couldn't catch the bird. So what he did, he grabbed the best trackers. He gathered them and said, look, we have to find where this bird rests, because if we catch him at the tree, and if we catch him where he lived, we have a better chance of killing him. So the trackers took their time and followed the traces. Every now and then this bird left magic bird poop, or left a footprint, or left a branch that was broken by him, and they followed it. And for a couple of days, the trackers were out, and they worked together, and they was able to identify that this bird flew to a certain tree, and it just so happened to be right a couple of miles outside of the village. And the chief was thrilled when he found out, because it was a magic tree, and because the tree was magic, they knew that if they took care of the magic tree and cut the motherfucker down, it would kill the bird. And the chief was happy, so he figured, all right, this is a magic bird, and the only ones that really may have some experience at dealing with any type of magic like this is the elders. And on top of that, they are the most accurate, and they are the best at what they do. So it wouldn't take them that long to chop down this mighty tree. It wouldn't take them that long if the bird came out fighting to kill a bird, because they had mastered their skills. They were masters. You see, so he went up to the elders, and he gave them a rousing speech, and the speech went something like this. He said, elders, I come to you with a humble heart and a troubled mind. You know what our plight is. You know that there's something out here stealing the fruits of our labors. You know that there's something out here taking the food out of the mouths of our children, taking food out of the mouths of our women, taking the food out of our very mouths and out of our hands. And it's a plague upon the village, and we must be able to do something. When you're about to eat your food, what is it that comes and take it? And the elders looked around and they said, the bird. He said, who is it that takes the sweet candies out of your hand? They said, the bird. Who is it that stops you from eating your dinner with your family? And they said, the bird. And the chief then said, down with the bird. And the elders followed him, down with the bird, down with the bird, down with the bird. They hiked, and they're getting hyped, and they start grabbing their axes, the ones that are good at chopping, and the ones that are warriors. They grab their bows and their arrows and their spears and their swords and their shields, and they march to the tree. And the most skilled ones with the axe line up around the tree, and the ones with the bows and arrows who are very accurate because they're elders are prepared, and the ones with the swords are ready just in case the bird comes out fighting. The ones with the spears, and they're ready. They're going to whoop this bird. They're going to chop down the tree. So they start to chop, and they chop. And on they go on 3, 1, 2, 3, and they swing, chop, chop, chop. And on the third strike, the bird looks out.
And he sees the elders down there, and instead of attacking, this bird starts singing a magical song. And this song, first, the elders are stunned. And then they are amazed. And then they are entranced because this song brings up memories of the past. And it reminds them of love gained and love lost and the lives that they lived and the adventures that they had. And the song was beautiful, and tears came to their eyes as they reminisced over the past. And the arrows dropped, and the spears dropped, and the shields fell to the ground, and the swords fell, and finally the axes dropped, and they sat stunned listening to this beautiful song. They listened all night, and in the morning they got up and they gathered their spears, they gathered their bows and arrows and their swords and their axes, and they went back to the village, and they went to the quarters of the chief, and the chief said, "Well, did you handle the bird?" And the lead elder came out and said, "No." The chief said, "What?" "We as elders have decided that any bird who can sing a song as beautiful as the song that this bird sung could not be evil. And there is no way that we can kill this bird." And the chief was amazed. More than amazed, this chief was stunned. And he said, "What in the hell are y'all talking about? This bird is robbing us of our fruits, the fruits of our labor, and you're telling me that you will not kill this bird?" And all the elders said, "No, we will not kill the bird, because this bird cannot be evil." So the chief goes into his quarters confused, and the elders return to their huts with the conviction that they will not kill a bird. And the chief sits around and contemplate who he could call on to kill the birds, because if the elders couldn't kill it, who could? Of course, the warriors and the nation builders, the protectors of the village. They'll do it. So he calls a meeting with the nation builders and the warriors. And he starts off with the rousing speech. And he says, "Brothers and sisters, we know that our village is being tormented. We all know that there's something stealing the fruits of our labor. We know that it's hard to sit at our table and eat, and our children are hungry. And we all know the cause of this hunger, don't we?" They all nod their head, and all in unison say, "Yes, it's the magic bird." And everybody says yes. He said, "Who is it that steals our spaghetti?" "The magic bird." "Who is it that steals our burgers and our steaks?" "The magic bird." "Who is it that's causing confusion in our households?" "The bird." And he starts to chant, "Down with the bird, down with the bird." And the nation builders and the warriors get hyped. Down with the bird. And they start jumping because they still have the youth and the geyser of, down with the bird. And you can hear for miles, "Down with the bird." And they grab their axes. And they grab their beads, their spears, and their bows and arrows, and their swords and their shields, and they march, chanting, "Down with the bird, down with the bird." And they come and they surround the tree, and those with bows and arrows prepare. And those with spears prepare. And those with swords and shields prepare. And the ones that are most skilled with the axe surround the tree. And on 3, 1, 2, 3, they start chop, chop, chop. And on the third chop, the bird looks out and starts his magic song. And just like the elders, the warriors and nation builders are first stunned, and then they're entranced. Because now the song tells these warriors and nation builders about the great things that will come. It starts getting them hyped up about the future, and they begin to dance, and it talks about adventures that they will have, and it talks about the growth of the village and their personal masteries, and it talks about love to come, and it sings a song, and they get all hyped in their youth and with their energy, and they begin dancing all night to the song of the bird. And as the sun rises, they come out of the trance and pick up their spears and pick up their bows and arrows and pick up their shields and pick up their swords and lastly pick up their axes and go back to the village and line up in front of the chief's quarters. And the head nation builder comes up and he tells the chief, "We cannot kill this bird." The chief says, "What?" They said, "Anything that can produce a song so beautiful cannot be evil. And we have decided as warriors and nation builders that we will not partake in killing this bird." The chief say, are you out of your goddamn minds? This bird is taking our food. He's literally taking the fruits of our labors from us. It's causing dissension in the village, and people are hungry. They said any bird that could sing a song so beautiful cannot be evil. And they all go away, and the chief is now at a loss. And he says, I don't know what to do. And he thinks about who is left in the village. And the only ones that are left that can help him solve this problem are the children. And he gathers the babies and he gives them talk. He says, "Babies, children, I know a lot of you may be too young to understand, but I know you can feel the hunger in your bellies." The children says, "Yes, yes, sir, we certainly can. And I know that you would love to be able to have your candies and your sweets as well as the meals that you used to have with your families." And they say, "Yes." And he says, "We all know who is guilty of taking this stuff from us." And they say, "The bird, the magic bird." And he said, "Who is it that's taking our candy?" And they says, "The bird." "Who is it that's stopping us from eating our favorite foods?" "The bird." "Who is this that's snatching the sweet fruit from our mouths?" And they say, "The bird." And he starts his chant, "Down with the bird." And the children, "Down with the bird, down with the bird, down with the bird." And they even more hyped than the nation builders, and they grab axes. And the ones that's big enough to grab spears, grab the spears. And the ones that know how to use a bow and arrow, grabs the bow and arrow. And the ones that are big enough grab shields. And some of them grab swords. And they march and dance. And they're having fun and joyfully dance all the way to the tree, chanting, "Down with the bird." And they surround the tree. And the ones that are able surround the tree, prepare their spears. And the ones that are able to lift the bows and arrows and who are accurate enough, lift the bows and arrows just in case the bird attacks. And the chief is there with them. And he gives them instructions. He say, "Children, we must cut down this tree." And they say, "Yes, we will cut down the tree." And they count off. The chief counts off 1, 2, 3, and they start chopping. Chop, chop, chop. And on 3, the bird looks out and starts to sing the magic song. And the chief is stunned by the beauty of the song. And he falls to his knees as the bird sings, but not the children. The bird sings about the past. And the chief begins to cry, but the children are enraptured and they are joyful and they're dancing and they're having fun and they're chopping down the tree. Chop, 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 because they are not hindered by visions of the past, because they are having fun in the present. And then the birds start singing about the future and the children dance. And the chief is still enraptured and entranced. The children listen to the song, but they're still chop, 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 because they're not hindered by thoughts of the future, because they are present and having fun in the moment. They are totally focused, and they chop, and they chop, and they chop, and they chop, and eventually one of the children that has foresight sees the tree is falling, and he pushes and he says, push. And the children push, and they push, and all of a sudden, timber! Children move out the way, and the tree falls. And as it falls, it lands, and the bird falls out dead. And the chief wakes up out of his trance, and they dance all the way back to the village, and the chief calls the entire village together, and they have a celebration for the children, and he gets up and he makes a speech. We all know that our village was tormented by a bird, a magic bird, and his magic was so powerful that our elders fell to their power because they were caught in the past. And our warriors, our nation builder, fell to their power because they were enraptured by the future. But our children, our beautiful children, whose vision has not been clouded by life and who are present in the moment, were able to do what the older nation builders and warriors and elders could not do, because they are grounded in the present. So this day we celebrate the children, and they celebrated and praised the children. And from that day on, once a year, they made sure that they had a celebration for the children, and they exchanged gifts from the adults, from the elders, nation builders, for the children on this day, to recognize and to remind themselves to, 1, cling to wisdom, yes. 2, always look for a brighter tomorrow, yes. But always remain like the children and stay grounded in the present. This is a story by Brother Hatim, and hopefully you get the lessons. First off, my question is, what is the bird in your life? And if you have many birds, you need to decide on, where are you? Are you the elder, or are you the nation builder, or are you the children grounded in the present and dealing with the issue in the way that it needs to be dealt with? There's other lessons in there, but that's just one I'll point out because I like to raise conversation. So go and think about where you are in your life. Think about what is the magic bird in your life. Think about where is the magic tree, because if you cut down the tree, you kill the bird. Cutting down the tree is getting to the source. Find the source of your problem and attack it at the source with a presence of mind, and you always will succeed. And celebrate your victories, no matter how small they are. This has been Brother Hatim. I'd like to thank you for your time. If you have any comments, please hit me up. All my information is present for you. Like this on Facebook. Tweet it out, and let's go on and continue learning together. If you have any tales that you find that you would like me to tell, or possibly that you would want to tell, because I'm coming up with ways where I could go and record it. You can record it, send it to me, I'll upload it, and I'll share your story. I just want to find as much wisdom as possible, because we have to get back to the roots of being storytellers.
Women, but the most important goddesses were black, not just for the African now in the civilization of the Greek. The Greek was so profoundly affected by the Africans that the goddess of chastity was a black woman, Artemis. The goddess of wisdom was a black woman, Minerva. The goddess of beauty was a black woman, Diana. And many of their great mythological figures which were critical to the vision of history, the history of the Greeks in the Odyssey. The woman who has the power to draw Odysseus and all his crew into her is Circe, who is represented as a black woman with African features on the Greek vases. The woman who helps Jason win the Golden Fleece is a black woman, Medea. The woman who marries Perseus, the Greek hero, is a
And I send shouts out to you, and with that, I say peace. Peace, this is Brother Hatim with Folktale for Grown Folks. This is a story about the turtle and the lizard. Remember, these folk tales, this version is for grown folks. So if you're a minor, don't turn this off. I don't want no issues with parents and stuff calling me and talking about. It says folk tales for grown folks or grown folk. Folk is already plural. So check it out. Now, I need to preface this by saying that at one point in time, the turtle shell was smooth. And the turtle and the lizard used to be real close and real good friends. Wherever you seen a turtle, you probably seen a lizard. And wherever you seen a lizard, you seen a turtle. They know all of each other's secrets because they're related. They're cousins. But this story lets you know why lizard and turtle is not cool. And also, it helps us look at the lizard and the turtles in our life. And also, remember, always in my stories, wonder what character you are at this point in your life or in different situations in your life. So, Long ago, turtle and lizard was tight. They was good friends. And it just so happened that during this time, there was a drought. And all the animals were hungry. No rain, water was slowly drying out, and there was a lack of food. So, Lizard, being Lizard, went out to go and find some food. And those of you that seen lizards down south, you know every time they go somewhere, they run real fast, and they climb up walls, and they do push-ups. And Lizard just happened to be out one day, and he saw a man looking around him like he trying to hide something, go to a cave with a big old rock in the middle, in the entryway of the cave. So the man would move the rock, and Lizard ducked down to make sure he wasn't seen, because this was suspicious behavior. And Lizard wanted to know what's going on, because lizards want to know. They're nosy. Hey, what's going on here? As soon as he think the man looking, he ducks down, and he lifted back up slowly, and he saw the man go into the cave and come out with 2 yams, lay the yams on the ground, and scoop the rock back into place, and then start using a stick or a bush to wipe away his footprints so nobody knew what was going on. And he went away. So Lizard, being curious and hungry, wondering if there's any more yams inside of the cave, go and move the rock. And when he moves the rock, he goes into the cave, and he is shocked because the cave is full of yams. This man had a stash. And Lizard, not being greedy, just being hungry. He don't like stealing, but he's starving. So he goes and he finds the smallest yam that he can, and he just takes one. And he goes back out the cave, close the cave up, and wipe away any evidence that he was there. Runs home, cooks his yam, lay back. He lays back and falls asleep. Now when he wakes up, he is thrilled because he hasn't been filled like this in a while, and he has to tell his brother, his cousin Turtle, his best friend. And he goes up to the turtle and he say, "Turtle." You know, Turtle's slow, so it takes time for Turtle to give a response. He say, "Hey, Turtle." "What's up?" That's the turtle, real slow. "I got something to tell you." Turtle's like, "Well, what you want to tell me?" "Well, man, better yet, I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you." Lizard got up early enough because he knew it took Turtle a while to get to this place. It took Lizard only 15 minutes to get to the cave, but going with Turtle, it's going to take a long time. Not only does the turtle move slow, but Turtle like to talk. So Lizard is trying to rush him so they can get there at the same time so that they could watch what happens. So they make it to the part, to the rocks where they're hiding behind, and they look up. He say, "Turtle, shh." Turtle like, "Okay, shh." They look, and they watch the man go to the cave, and the man goes through the same process. He moves the rock. He goes in. He comes out with 2 yams, put the yams down, close the cave, wipe away his footprints. As soon as he's out of sight, Lizard runs down and opens the cave. Turtle comes down at his own slow pace. And when Turtle entered the cave, he goes, "Oh my gosh, look at all these damn yams. Oh my God." So Lizard does his thing. He goes in and he finds the littlest yam that he could find. And he takes the 1 yam and he runs out the cave. He say, "Hurry up, Turtle." Turtle grabs 1 yam. He grabs 2 yams. He can't decide. He grabbing the biggest yams he can, 3 yams and 4 yams and 5 yams and 6 yams. Lizard yells in, "Turtle, hurry up." Turtle just is in this cave just trying to take as much as he can. And Lizard figures, hey, Turtle, I'm warning you, I'm gone. Turtle says, go, man. This the fastest he talk now because he hungry. He trying to grab all the yams that he could grab. Lizard wipes away all of his prints and runs away. Lo and behold, Turtle is taking his time going through this cave, trying to take as many yams as he can. He can only carry so many, but he's trying to carry more. He's putting some on top of his shell. They rolling off. He's trying to hold a bunch in his arms, and they keep falling out. And he's just being greedy. And it just so happens at that point in time, the man comes back and see his cave is open. And he grabs a stick and he goes in the cave and he starts whooping the hell out of Turtle. What the hell you doing in my cave? Pop, pop. Turtle starts screaming, no, sir, no, no. Don't hit me no more. Pop, pop, pop. And the man grabs Turtle and said, you gonna tell me how you found my hiding place? No, I won't tell you. I refuse to tell you. I'm not gonna tell you that. Whack, whack, whack. It was Lizard. It was the Lizard. So the man said, oh, so Lizard, that dirty scoundrel, I'm going to take you there and I'm going to beat both of y'all. And you better stay away from my cave. And if you're lying to me, you're wasting my time, and I'm going to beat the hell out of you. I might even kill you. So he snatched the turtle up and he drags the turtle to the Lizard's house. Lizard already went home, cooked his yam, ate it, got rid of the evidence, and went to sleep. They came to Lizard's door, and they started knocking. Lizard in this cave sleep. He hears the knocks, he rolls over. He hears the knock still, he rolls over. He pulls the blankets over his head and puts the pillow over his head. Finally, when Lizard figured that the people wasn't going, whoever it was wasn't going away, he went and answered the door. And lo and behold, it's the man, and it's a crying, snotty turtle. Lizard looks at him, say, how can I help you? The man said, the turtle told me that you gave him permission to go into my cave, and you showed him where my hiding spot is. Lizard said, is that so? Turtle said, yeah, you know it's so. Lizard don't even acknowledge Turtle and continue looking at the man. The man says, is this true? The Lizard stopped and said, when did you catch Turtle in your cave? He said, I caught Turtle in my cave maybe 15 minutes ago. Lizard said, well, I don't think it's so, sir, because I've been laying in bed all day. So there's no way I was with Turtle at all today. Turtle said, stop lying, man. You know it was both of us. And you know, Lizard looked at both of them, and Turtle continued. He looked at the Lizard, looked at the turtle, and then looked at the man. He said, sir, I don't know what you're talking about. I'd appreciate it if you get off my stoop. And Lizard went back in the house and slammed the door. Went back and laid in bed. Turtle's like, well, I swear it was him. The man take the stick, hit Turtle a couple more times. You lying ass. And then he picks up the turtle and he slams him up against the Lizard's home. And he slams him with such force that the turtle shell that was once smooth breaks. And Turtle falls to the ground screaming, no! Not my shell, not my shell. Why my shell? Why me? And he cries and he cries, and the man leaves, and the man goes to the cave and move all his yams, and Turtle's still crying. Oh, why me? Why me? Why the Lizard lies and take his punishment with me? And he crying so much that the insects that was left from the drought decided, we better help this turtle. So they put some glue together and they gave it to the turtle and helped him glue his shell back together. So now when you look at a turtle shell, it's no longer smooth. It's cut into like little blocks and look like it has been broken. All those little lines in a turtle shell. Now, although many of you will look at this as a childish story, I ask you this very simple question that I asked at the beginning. Which character are you? Are you the man stashing the yams and being violated? Are you the turtle that goes into the cave and get greedy? Or are you the lizard that not only lied, in a sense, but went in to get just enough for him to survive on? And then again, are you the turtle? Are you the one that get caught doing something with somebody and tells? Now, one of the important pieces about this story for me is that from this story, we could teach our kids about what snitching is, because right now in the world, there is this wrong idea about snitching. Now, I'm going to go off a little bit into this piece here. Now, when I came up, I guess it's a different time definition changed. Snitching was when you got caught in a crime. And when you got caught in the crime and you was going to benefit if everything went smoothly, and because you got caught, you decided to tell on everybody. For me, that's snitching. Now, this shit that we got going around and our kids talking about what snitching is when nobody tells anything, is ridiculous. Communities cannot survive if aware and perceptive and alert citizens do not report when things are wrong. Report to the authority of the community or the authority outside the community, but it's best to have authority in the community. If you are not involved with a crime, if you are not benefiting from the crime, then you can't be a snitch. You are what's called a good citizen, for all intents and purposes. But this whole idea of that's going around right now where motherfuckers are saying dumb shit like I ain't no snitch, but motherfucker, you ain't benefiting from the shit that's going on. How would you be a snitch? You know what I'm saying? You might have to protect yourself, but how the fuck can you fall into the definition of a snitch if you are not benefiting directly from the crime? Come on, but that's just me. All right, this is Hot Tim, and that's my folk tale for the day. Hopefully you like it. Leave some comments, questions, any ideas. If you have any stories that you want me to adapt, because I'm listening to a ton of them, and I'm reading a ton of them, and I got much more for you. This has been Brother Hot Tim, and with that, I say peace. Oh, lastly, I forgot to mention, this is why Turtle and Lizard up to this day aren't cool. Turtle was mad at Lizard for lying and saying that he ain't had nothing to do with the crime, and Lizard is mad at Turtle for being greedy and staying in the cave when he could have grabbed one yam and kept it moving. Alright? So they ain't really been cool since. So with that, I say peace. Peace. This is Brother Hot Tim with another installment of Folk Tales for Grown Folks. And today we're going to talk about that jackal, the underdog, that dirty dog, that low down, nasty brother that knows how to use his brains and his mind. Although he doesn't always use it for the best purposes, he uses it nonetheless. So, let me rehash what all those that's been following Folk Tales for Grown Folks from Gye-Nyame Journey all the way over to now the radio station just dedicated to Folk Tales for Grown Folks. The jackal has a motto, and this motto runs across a lot of folk tales, especially the underdog, whether we're talking about Brother Rabbit or Anansi the spider or the turtle, and it goes simply like this. Oh, I can't forget Brother Coyote as well, but it goes like this. You might be bigger than me. You might be stronger than me. You might even be faster than me, but you will never, ever outthink me. Keep that in mind. That may come in handy in your life, because you might not be able to get as strong as the strongest man, or fast as the fastest man, or big as the biggest man, but you can always grow your mind and your brain and get them to work together to overcome any obstacle, as you will see with Brother Jackal. Well, we start off in the plains, and Jackal wakes up early morning, and he's very grateful for surviving another night in this hard world that he exists in. Because, of course, you know, it's hard for a jackal, because jackals only get to eat what's left over, and most of the time, since they're like meat, they have to eat after their most dangerous opponent. Now, the story that I'm telling you today starts off a long time before this, but well, all you need to know is that the lion and the jackal used to be the best of friends until the jackal used his mind and outthink or outthunk that damn lion. Now, the lion is the king of beasts, and he likes to boast and brag, but the jackal often gets the best of him. So, the jackal rises and gives thanks that he ate the little that he did eat, and his belly was rumbling, but he didn't complain. He gave thanks. He thanked the universe that spawned him. He thanked his ancestor jackals that came before him, and he took off walking, always remembering that he had enemies, especially Brother Lion, who he had turned on and dogged out in the story that's coming after this. But I digress, and I won't hold you up with that story, because that'll be on another episode. But right now, Jackal is walking, and as he's walking, the sun hits his face, and he gives thanks to the sun. And he looks up and he says, "Thank you, Brother Sun." And he walks through the plains, and the grass rubs on his fur, and he's thankful for the grass, and he's thankful for his fur, and he's paying attention to everything that's going on around him. And he listens to the grasshoppers, and he says, "Good morning, Brother Grasshopper." And he sees the butterfly, and he says, "Good morning, butterfly, and if you move any slower, I'm going to eat you." But nobody's really worried about the jackal catching him, because the way the jackal is built, he's not built for speed. So none of the animals are worried about him as he walks through the plains, and he feels the grass in between his paws, and he is thankful, and feels the soft earth, and he is thankful. And as he walks on his journey for this day, he sees a forest, and he decides to go through the forest. But before he goes to the forest, he looks at the forest and notices the beauty of the trees and the majestic colors that shine off of them from the sun, reflecting off of the leaves. And he noticed how brightly and how green the forest is, and he hears the birds singing, and he says, "Good morning, brother and sister birds," as he walks through the forest. And as he's walking, he finally makes it through the forest and sees the flowers, and he crosses a little river, and he sees Brother Crocodile, and he hurries on across, but he still says, "Good morning, Brother Crocodile," because the rules of the jungle are very simple. Either you are predator or you are prey. And in any given time, you could be either one in this forest, in this jungle, in this life. And Jackal is grateful that he has the wits of a jackal and the sense of a jackal, and he uses his smell and his sense of smell, and he sees a mountain coming up, and he goes up the mountain, and he's walking up a mountain path. And as he goes higher and higher, beauty of the mountain, and he looks back and he sees where he came from, and he turns around and sees where he's going, and he gives thanks for making it this far. And he speaks to the rocks and the mountain. Good morning, brother and brother mountain, and good morning, sister rock. And he walks on the path. And as he's walking on the path, enjoying the view, taking in the air, lo and behold, he utters a cuss. God damn. Along the same path, coming in the opposite direction, heading straight for him, is Brother Lion. Now, first off, Jackal was upset and surprised that Brother Lion is on the damn mountain in the first place. What is a lion doing on the mountain? And he thought about it, and the only thing he could come to was Brother Lion is on the mountain for the same reason I'm on the mountain. I don't belong on the damn mountain, so this lion got the right to be on this mountain as well as I do. But he notices that the lion doesn't see him yet, and he has to think fast because, remember, he can't outrun Brother Lion because Brother Lion ain't that far away from him, and he can't go right because the mountain is on his right-hand side, and he can't go left because it's a long fall down. And if he goes straight ahead, the lion is going to eat his ass up. The lion is upset with him because the lion has been cheated and tricked by this jackal over and over and over again. And one particular time, which you will hear about in the next episode, Jackal totally rips a hole in the lion's ass, mentally, spiritually, and physically. But this time, Jackal has nowhere to go. But then he remembers some wise words. And the words go like this. In order to build something up, you must tear it down. And in order to tear something down, you must build it up. So the jackal decides he's going to have to use his wits, and the thought after he recites these words of wisdom come to him in an instant, and he decides to run straight towards the lion. He runs straight towards the lion, screaming at the top of his lungs, acting like he out of breath. Brother Lion is surprised that Jackal's running up on him, and Jackal runs up, Uncle Lion, oh, I'm so glad to see you. We're doomed. Now the lion, in all his anger, is smart enough to listen to what somebody is saying, because first off, he's surprised that Jackal was running towards him because he know that Jackal know that he got an ass whooping coming. And Brother Lion is like, but he hears the words doom and we. And he puts that shit together real quick, and he like, Jackal, what are you talking about? We're doomed. Jackal's breathing hard. Brother Lion, I'm so glad you're here. Oh, my goodness. Oh, we are doomed. I'm about to jump off. Don't jump off the mountain. Lion is thinking, I don't want to jump off this mountain because I want to rip a hole. I want the right to throw your ass off this mountain, motherfucker. But let me hear you out, because just in case there's something coming around this corner that I can't handle, I want to make sure before I kill you. This is what the lion is thinking inside his head. And Jackal has to unleash his plan quick because he knows that Lion lacks patience as well as some good thinking. He falls to the lion's feet. Say, Lion, you got to save us. You got to save us. We're both doomed. And Lion said, what's going on, Jackal? Jackal says, Lion, the mountain is falling. As I was coming up this side, the mountain just started falling. I just made it around the corner before this part of the mountain fell that I was walking on. Now I'm here and we're doomed. Lion says, hold on, Jackal, I don't hear anything. Jackal says, we got to do something quick and fast. Lion, you are the strongest of animals. And Lion, being a conceited animal that he is, says, you're right in his head. And you are the king of peace. And in his head, lion says, you're right. Jackal says, you have to save us. Lion said, what must I do to stop this mountain from falling? Jackal says, listen, I'm not strong enough to do it, but I know that you can. Hold the mountain up. So Lion turns and throws his paws on the mountain and holds and presses. And the falling, or what he thought was falling, stops. Jackal says, look, I'm going to run around this bend down here, grab a log, and come back and help you hold the mountain up so we both can escape. Lion, I must thank you. My family thanks you. And your family thanks you because we were both doomed. And because of your act of bravery, you have saved us both. I will run and I will return in 1 minute. Give me a second. So Jackal takes off around the corner, and as he runs full speed. And when he's out of the sight of the lion, he stops and he smiles and he says, to build something up, you must tear it down. And to tear something down, you must build it up. So Lion is on his wall holding it up. And a minute go past and he starts to wonder what happened to the jackal. Now the lion is pressing his wall and he's scared to let it go. 1 hour goes by and he's still looking around, trying to look around the corner and see what's taking Jackal so long. 2 hours go by and he's still holding his mountain, and he gives up because he knows that the jackal is not coming, but he got to hold this mountain as long as he can, and he's pressing. 3 hours go by and his arms start to get sore, and 4 hours go by and his legs begin to shake. 5 hours go by, his back begins to hurt. 6 hours go by, beads of sweat are dripping in his eyes and they're burning. 7 hours go by, he begins to cry. 8 hours, he has to wrestle. He lifts one finger and he closes his eyes and hopes for the best. 2 hours go by, he lifts another finger, hoping for the best. Nothing happens. He lifts third finger. Nothing happens. He lifts a fourth finger. Nothing happens. He takes his whole damn hand off. Nothing happens. He looks at the mountain. He looks at his other hand, and he drops it. And he looks at the mountain and nothing happens. And the first thought that comes to his mind is, that motherfucking jackal got me again. So he takes off running, but we all know that the jackal was long gone. Now, the question that you have to wrestle with in this situation, how does it fit your life? What wisdom can you glean off of this story? Second, where are you in your life? Are you the lion holding up the wall? Are you the lion that somebody can easily prop up and hype up and build up for your own demise, for your own embarrassment? Or are you the jackal that's using your mind to get over? Whichever one you are, make adjustments. Move towards righteousness. Move towards the balance so that you can't be taken advantage of, nor take advantage of others. This has been Brother Hatim. I hope you enjoyed the story. And next time I come on, I will be telling the story about why Jackal is on the run from Lion and why Lion wants to rip a hole in the Jackal's ass. I'd like to thank you for listening. Thank you for taking your time. This has been Brother Hatim, and this is Folktale for Grown Folks. Peace.
At Encova Insurance, we're committed to leaving a lasting impression in all communities we serve. We support local causes that mirror the values and interests of our associates, agents, and policyholders. We partner with organizations that are dedicated to improving lives. We are committed to building something greater than ourselves, encircling our communities with strength and support. We are Encova Insurance. Learn more at Encova.com.
Peace, this is Brother Hatim, and I'd like to welcome you to Folk Tales for Grown Folks. And I'm going to continue the saga. This one is entitled The Jackal and the Lion, Part 2. Now, those that's been following, you know that the jackal has showed up in several of my stories. Of course, this whole segment started off as Gye-Nyame Journey, so I want to encourage you to listen to Gye-Nyame Journey, especially my Freestyle Fridays. And I know I haven't been doing it lately, but, you know, there's a lot of things going on. I stay pretty busy, and I'm trying to organize my life. But I want to get all these stories down because I have a slew of them. Some of them I created, some of them I adapted, some of them are just old African folk tales or Native American folk tales or European folk tales. But I honestly believe that if we want to change the world, we have to start changing the stories, and we have to start adding stories so that our children will sit down and listen, because there is nothing more powerful than a grown person actually telling a child a story rather than just letting them get the stories on TV, because they'll start watching TV differently and expecting different things if they are getting stories from their elders. So here's a story. Now, in the last story, I kind of started backwards with the jackal, because that's the way it was given to me, backwards, because of course we know that the jackal was trying to avoid Brother Lion, but we didn't understand why, because I said that the jackal and the lion used to be friends. But this is where the fallout happened, right here and now. Now remember, the jackal, like all the other trickster animals, has a saying, and it goes like this: you might be bigger than me. You might be stronger than me. Hell, you might even be faster than me. But you will never, ever outthink me. Now, that's a message to all of us. Although the jackal and Brother Rabbit and Brothers Anansi and Brother Coyote, they might not be the most righteous characters in the world, but the motto is something that all of us could use in our lives. You might be bigger than me. You might be stronger than me. Hell, you might even be faster than me. But you will never, ever outthink me. Because my mind, unlike the other things that I mentioned, is something that I could change. I could work out every day, and I might not never be as strong as you. And at my age, I know I ain't growing no more, so I know I'm not gonna get as big as you. And you might always be faster than me, but I can always, always increase my intelligence, increase my knowledge, and build on my wisdom, and use that wisdom as a lever to give me an advantage in life. So here we go. Now, during this time, Brother Lion and Brother Jackal were good friends, and both of them would basically hunt together. Lion would hunt and eat a little bit and let Jackal go on and eat some, and sometimes they ate together. You know, it was cool with both their families was doing good. But every year on the plains in Africa, there would be this season called the hungry season, where things would go dry and the animals would migrate, and the lion and the jackal will be stuck for a period of about 3 months being very hungry. Now, the jackal, being somebody who was very observant, started noticing this cycle and came up with an idea. So he approached his friend Lion, and he said, "Brother Lion." "Yes, Brother Jackal." "Bruh, you know, this thing called the hungry season pops up every year." He said, hungry season, because the lion is oblivious to this cycle. I mean, even though it happens all the time, because lion does not have to really pay attention to a lot of these things, because he has the physical skills to overcome most situations. So he don't notice that there's a hungry season every year. He just knows there's a time when he go hungry, and he's not even keeping track of it. But Brother Jackal, on the other hand, because he's shaped funny and he can't run that fast, he got to pay attention to everything. So he says, Brother Lion, now you know I'm a horrible hunter, and you are the best. And the lion says, yes, I am. That's one of the lion's downfalls. He's very proud of his physical skills. You know, he's so proud of it that he don't focus on his mental skills at all. And Jackal plays into this, plays it up. So, as the Jackal was talking, he said, Brother Lion, let's make a deal. He said, look, I've been studying, and I know that this is this thing called the hungry season that comes around every year, and I'm getting tired of getting caught up in it. We go months without eating and might eat once every 2 weeks, and I want to make sure there's enough food. Now, I have been watching, and I know that if I boil food, I can preserve it longer. I know if I sit food out after I treat it in the sun, that it will dry out and it will last a long time. I know that if I go down to the salt flats and get some salt, that I could preserve this food. And I think that if we start hunting, better yet, if you start hunting and you bring me the food and allow me to start preserving it during the hungry season, your and my family will eat good. Now the lion thought about this and he said, yo, that's a good idea. But he says, look, I'm going to invest in your idea. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to hunt like I never hunted before, but I need to make sure that you will take care of my family. And Brother Jackal looked at him hurt. He said, Brother Lion, why would you even ask me something like that? Of course, I'll take care of your family. The whole time, Brother Jackal got his hands behind his back with his fingers crossed, which all those people out there that's really observant knows that means that he is lying. Not lying like, but telling a lie. Well, anyway, Brother Lion runs off immediately and starts hunting. And he catches a gazelle and he brings it back to the Jackal. And the Jackal prepares it and cuts the meat up and does what he does. And every day, the lion for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks is bringing in massive amounts of food. And he never goes home because he's trusting that the Jackal is taking care of his family. So finally, after a month of being out here hunting and knowing that he got the hungry season beat this year, he goes home to check on his family. So as he approaches his den and goes in, he sees that his children ribs are showing and they're laying on the ground weak like they are on the verge of death, and his wife is doing the same. And he looks at his wife and says, what's going on here? Why are you hungry? She said, husband, Jackal would come around and drop off little bits of food saying that you wasn't doing that good out in the hunt. So we was waiting and hoping that one day you would eventually do well enough so that we could get some more food. And the lion is furious now because he's been bringing home all types of stuff, and he got enough food to not only last through hungry season, but possibly to last 6 to 9 months. Now, he's not the smartest person in the world, but he definitely knows that he's been bringing enough food to not only feed his family, but to feed the Jackal's family and have plenty left. So he runs off to the Jackal's den. And when he approaches the Jackal den, he finds that it is empty. And he is really furious now. So he uses his sensitive sense of smell and he tracks down the Jackal. And the Jackal knew that the lion would be furious. Didn't know how to get to the top. You will always end up sliding back down. So the lion ran up to it, and the Jackal was expecting it. He just didn't know exactly what date, but every now and then he would look out. And this time he looked out and he seen the lion coming with a ferocity that was just, he could feel it all the way from the cave. And the lion ran up, and the jackal was sitting out there, and he seen the lion, and he said, "Hey, brother lion." And the lion stops and looks up and says, "How dare you call me brother, leaving my family to starve after you promised to feed them?" Jackal said, "Whatever are you talking about?" Now, the jackal had already laid out the plan. He already knew what type of discussion he was going to have. So what he did was he took a buffalo skin and hung it up in the cave. And hung it up tight so that it would sound like every time he hit it, it would sound as if he was beating something or someone. And he told his family, "Now y'all listen. When I come in and I strike this skin, I want you to scream like I'm beating you and stay out of sight." So as the lion approached, the lion said, "How dare you call me brother after you and you have not been feeding my family?" And the lion says, "How dare you?" And Brother Jackal looks back at him down and says, "Brother Lion, what are you talking about?" He says, "My family told me that you have not been bringing home their purse, and I am very upset." And Jackal said, "That's funny. I've been sending my wife over there with food every day. I don't understand what's going on." "I know what it is. My wife is playing with me. She's playing both of us. Hold on, I'm going to beat her." So he goes into the cave, he grabs a stick, waves it so that the lion can see it, and goes into the dark cave, and he starts hitting the buffalo skin. And as he starts hitting the skin, his wife starts screaming, "No! Ow! Ah!" And the little pup start, "Yeah, don't feed our mommy, don't feed our mommy." And he's in there putting on a show, and his wife is putting on a show, and his kids should get Oscars for how well they're performing. And he goes out the cave breathing hard. He says, "I apologize for that, brother lion. Come on up here and get some food for you and your family." So Lion starts trying to climb the hill, and the jackal disappears in the cave because the jackal know that the lion can't get up because he don't know the secret way up. And he slides down, and he becomes exhausted and tired. And finally, Jackal look out the cave and say, "Brother Lion, stop playing and get on up here." He says, Lion looks up and says, "Brother Jackal, I can't get up." He says, "What?" He said, "Yes, I keep sliding down the face of the mountain." Hold on. He said, "I'm going to throw you down a rope to help you up, and we'll pull you up." So he throws down a rope, and the lion ties it around his waist and grabs on and pulls, let the jackal know, and the jackal and his family start pulling, and they pull, 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 and just as the lion gets halfway, the jackal takes a knife and pulls one more time and cuts the rope, and the rope snaps, and the lion falls and breaks his arm. He gets up holding his sore arm, and Jackal looks down and said, "Brother Lion, what happened?" Lion said, "The rope must have broke." He said, "Are you all right?" He said, "Yeah, I'm a little bit bruised, but I'm all right." So he runs into the cave, and he says, "I'm going to kill my wife for giving me that cheap rope. She's playing us." And he goes in, and he starts hitting this buffalo skin. Boom, boom, boom. And the family starts screaming. "Ah! Ah!" They put on the performance of a lifetime. And the jackal comes out breathing hard. "I apologize for that, brother lion. Them giving me that cheap rope. This time we're going to use a buffalo skin rope." So he throws down another rope, and Lion takes his good arm and ties it around his waist. And the family start pulling again. And they pull, and they pull, and they pull, and when he makes it past halfway, they pull, they pull. He gets to 3/4 of the way up, and they pull, and Lion's nose is just at the edge of the cave, and he could just look in, and he could see the pot of the meat cooking, and he could see strips of meat that's been dried hanging, and his mouth starts to water, and just as he's able to just almost reach up and pull himself with his one good arm, the jackal cuts the rope, and the lion plunges, boom, hit the ground. Now he's totally dazed and really hurt this time. So, Brother Lion looks up, dazed and dizzy, looking up, and the whole world seems to be spinning, and the jackal hides his laughter and look down and say, Brother Lion, what happened? He said the rope must have broke again. He says, I'm going to kill my family. Oh, my goodness, my wife did it again. Hold on, I'll be right back. And he runs in. He starts beating the skin, and the animals and the jackals are screaming so terribly that Brother Lion screams up, Brother Jackal, stop. It is not their fault that the rope broke. And Jackal comes out breathing hard. He says, Brother Lion, I won't be able to pull you up today. But what we're going to do is we're going to throw you some meat down, and you could come back tomorrow, and we will pull you up so we could give you your proper portion, but we will throw enough down for you and your family. Now, the jackal had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. He had already had a nice rock cooking on top of the fire, and he pulled the rock out with a big stick, him and his wife, and they wrapped it in some nice juicy buffalo fat and wrapped some skin around that. And it was a nice size. They said, first we're going to throw you some down so that you can eat and get your strength. Then we'll throw you down some for your family. So the jackal grabs this big lump of meat with the rock in the center, a big rock, and he throws it down, and the lion waits to catch it in his mouth because his arms are messed up. And when he catches it, the weight of the rock smashes the lion, and the lion falls down dead. Now, for the kids, I changed the story that the lion is just seriously hurt, but in the actual story, the lion is dead. So now you know why the jackal and the lion up to this day do not get along. This has been Brother Hatim, and I hope that you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed that, send me some comments so that I can continue with the stories, because I got some other stories that are just off the hook. I just had to get through the Jackal series. I'm going to have some more on the Jackal maybe in the future, but I'm going to keep this going for a while. But this has been Brother Hatim. Please check me out on GyeNyameJourney.com. Also, you can see my blogs. You can also listen to my radio shows. Be sure to also check out my books. I got some more coming out, but right now I have available The Player's Pyramid, which is a self-mastery book or a self-help book. The Lost Art of Storytelling, which is a storybook that's based on using the stories to help develop your sales and get the lessons out. Also, I have Gye-Nyame Journey Workbook, which is a book of proverbs and quotes that you can use, and also helping to move towards self-mastery. Now, the point that I want to stress, and then I'm done, is get the lesson from the story. Are you the lion, or are you the jackal, or are you some type of mixture of both? And where are you in your life? Are you on the receiving end like the lion, or are you on the giving end like the jackal? And on whichever end you are on, what is the seeds that you are sowing that you will have to recoup in the future? Because remember, reciprocity is always there, because the jackal gets his, believe that. But this has been Brother Hatim. I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and with that, I say peace.
Community was just hands down. That was our choice. It was a no-brainer. It's like a friendship thing to me.
It makes it so nice dealing with people that have the same values as you.
I feel that Community Bank does care about not only my business, but me personally.
Community Bank still has enough power, but small enough to have personal touch.
They're working with you. They're like the old-time bank. When I first started, that's the way the old banks used to be. The community seems to be that bank, the same old bank.
Peace. This is Brother Hatim, and I'm coming at you live. I'm coming at you this time on Folktales for Grown Folks. So check me out. Make sure you look up some of my other stuff. I got a real good folktale for you today. I don't know how long it's going to take because you know how I do it. I'm enjoying myself. But here we go. Before we get into the program, let me send out some shots. Make sure you check out my books, Gye-Nyame Journey, Workbook, Lost Art of Storytelling. You can also check out Players Pyramid. I got some other books coming out real soon. So you can check me out at www.GyeNyameJourney.com, which is also the name of one of my blogs. You just look me up, Brother Hatim Gye-Nyame. Click on me on Spreaker, and it'll lead you to my author's page on Amazon. It'll also lead you to my blog. And so here we go. Now, let me give you a little history on this story. This story is an adaptation of a tale that I heard from a book. I can't remember the title, but it was a selection of stories from Nelson Mandela. But of course, I threw my own flavor on it, and I'm calling it The Witch with the Ugly Hat. Now, why do I call it The Witch with the Ugly Hat? You need to know this because this is for grown folks. In the original story, the witch in this story meets a very bad demise. But because I was telling this story to kindergartners to second grade, I had to change how she perished so that I wouldn't have a lot of complaints from the parents about the violence in the story. So I created a character with an ugly hat. Alright, so now let's get into the story. It's usually a two-part story. I tell it to my kids in two parts, but I'm going to try to give it to you in one part. Now, once upon a time, in a kingdom called Sankofa. Now, of course, for those that's been following my stories know that Sankofa was a king that was brought up under the tutelage of Gye. Was first a prince. When his father joined the Federation, this child was blessed enough to get under the direct tutelage of Gye and became a great prince and eventually started his own kingdom. Now, the king of the Sankofa kingdom was the one in this story is his grandson. But we're not talking about his grandson. We're talking about his grandson's son. So now, this king was very aged. The king of the Sankofa kingdom was very aged, and he only had one son. And he was going to pass his kingdom to a son, but he wanted to make sure that the son had the wisdom that he needed to run the kingdom. So he thought of a test for his son. Now he knew he didn't have too much time to live on the planet, so he wanted to make sure that his son would be able to prove himself. So he gave his son a challenge. He called his son, and his son's name was Akoban. So he called Akoban to come to him, and he said, "Son, I need you to be able to prove that you will be able to run this kingdom after I am gone. If not, you will not inherit my throne, and I will have to find another heir." So the son said, "Father, whatever you want me to do, I will do." And the father said, "Well, what I need you to do is this. You will go out into the world to seek wisdom. And the only way that the wisdom is going to come is if you are open to adventure. So I'm going to send you out into the world because I have prepared you all your life for this day." So he gave his son three things. He gave his son a bag of gold. He gave his son a sword, and he gave his son a horse. And he told him when the sun rose the next morning that the son needed to set out on an adventure outside of the borders of Sankofa. So the son, being a good son, was ready and willing and able to take the challenge. So he took the challenge, and when the sun rose, he jumped on his horse and he rode. And he rode and he rode and he rode. He rode outside of the border of Sankofa, and he continued to ride. And he rode, and then he took a break. He stopped. He let his horse rest. He fell asleep. And when he woke up in the next morning, he jumped back on his horse, and he rode and he rode and he rode and he rode all day. And he knew he was a good distance from his father's kingdom, but he still got off his horse and he slept up under the stars, thinking about how blessed he was to be born, and how blessed he was to be born to a father like his, and how blessed he was to have his life. He understood the concept of grace, and he understood that he was the recipient of much grace. So when he woke up the next morning, he got back on his horse and he rode. Now, when he laid down to go to sleep this night, he thought about the same things, how blessed he was, and he went to sleep and had a pleasant sleep, and he slept up under the stars. But when he woke up in the morning to get up on his horse, he couldn't get up on his horse because his horse was dead. Now, I don't know why the horse was dead. The way the story was told to me, the horse just died. And this is the way of adventure for those that understand these type of things. The horse died. He did the right thing and buried the horse because the horse had served him. And he understood that he was blessed to even be able to ride the horse this far away from his father's land. So he buried the horse and he was thankful. He said a prayer for the horse, for a libation for the horse, so that the horse can have a good resting place, because the horse has started him on his journey. So he started to walk. And as night approached, he no longer wanted to sleep up under the stars. He was tired now because he had been walking all day. And he saw what he thought was an abandoned house. And he went up to the house and he looked around. He looked into the windows and he saw that nobody was in there. He knocked on the door and the door cracked open. He went in and he saw that the house was empty, or what he thought was a house. So he found himself a little room. He found himself a little corner. He took out his gold and he found a nice little hiding place and put it in it. He took out his sword just in case he needed to reach it real quick, and he laid down to go to sleep. But as he drifted off into sleep and the night got late, he all of a sudden heard something. A loud bang. Boom! First he just rolled over. Thought maybe he was having a drink. The boom again. He pulled the sword out and he crept out of the room he was in and peeked around. And what he saw was 3 men digging up a grave. So the place that he thought was a house was actually like a mausoleum, a place where a certain people would bury their dead. So he saw these men pulling his body up out of the ground, and he was shocked because in the place where he come from, people respect the dead. People pour libation for those who have passed on. People never disrespected a dead person's gravesite, no matter how bad the person was. A person would deserve respect in death, at least where he came from. So he approached these men with his sword out and he challenged them. At first they were scared, but when they saw he was by himself, they got bold. And he said, "Why do you bother this man lying in his grave? Don't you know that is wrong?" They said, "This man died owing us money." He said, "You would risk your own soul and your own time of rest to dig up a man that owes you money?" They said, "Listen, this man died owing us a lot of money, and because he died before he paid us, we and our families are struggling and starving, and we figured that he needs to suffer with us. So we're going to take his body and throw it out in the woods and allow the wild animals to eat on it so he could never get rest." So Prince Akhaban thought about this, and he said, "Sir, or sirs, would you allow me to pay you what this man owed you? They said, sure. Why not? He said, and if I pay you, will you bury this man and give him the proper respect he deserved? They said, sure we will. So Prince Akubon went around, found his hiding place, pulled out his gold, came out and approached the three men boldly, and he said, how much did he owe you? They said 30 pieces of gold. So he started distributing the gold. And at 30 pieces, he found that was all of the money he had. But he wasn't sad, and he wasn't scared, because he knew that he had done a good deed. He knew that he had spreaded some grace, and because he spreaded grace, he knew that the universe will also spread grace upon him. So the men reburied the body, and Prince Akubon went back to sleep. And when he woke up the next morning, he felt so good because he had done a grace to somebody. He gave somebody some grace, an undeserved favor, and he felt good. He ate the last little bit of food that he had, and he began to walk. And as he walked, he approached a long road, and the road was stretched as far as the eye could see. And he walked on his road. And being wary of bandits, he always checked around him. He checked all the points around him. And as he walked for an hour, and he could see all the way back. He could see all the way forward. And he could see the empty fields on his side. And he knew nobody else was on this road. So Prince Akubon would continue walking. And he would periodically check, and he wouldn't see anybody on the road. But out of the blue, out of nowhere, someone from behind him said, excuse me, young man, and came running up the road. And Prince Akubon was shocked. And the man said, I noticed that we're journeying in the same direction. Can I join you? And he was shocked because he had been checking behind him and he didn't see anyone on the road. And he wanted to know where this man came from. The man said, I've been behind you for hours. And Prince Akubon was like, no, you wasn't. So rather than starting an argument, Prince Akubon felt him out and allowed the man to journey with him. And they began to talk. And he found that this man's name was Arel. And Arel told him all about his life. And Prince Akubon told him in return all about his life. And they became fast friends. And as they walked, they noticed a woman walking towards them. And she was carrying a bunch of sticks on top of her head, wrapped into a bundle. I guess she was carrying it for the fire. And as she walked close to them, they noticed that she stumbled, and when she stumbled, she hurt her ankle. And they ran up to her. And Prince Akubon tried to help her up, but she screamed in pain. And Prince Akubon looked at Brother Arel and said, we have to help her to her house. Arel said, hold on, Prince, let me see what I could do. And he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a little bottle, and in the bottle he takes the top off, and it's this real thick substance, and he pours a little bit on his finger and he rubs it on the woman's ankle. Now all of a sudden the woman's ankle and legs started shaking, and her toes started twitching, and she jumped up on her feet, and it was almost as if she was dancing. And she said, my leg feel better than it has ever felt before. Good sir, what do I owe you for such a favor? He said, madam, take it as a grace. Take it as a blessing. She said, oh, okay. She said, so I don't owe you nothing? He said, no, you don't. But if you wanted to give me one of those sticks, I would gladly take it. She said, all you want for healing my ankle is a measly stick. Look, reach in the pile, take what you want. So Arel started digging through the pile, and he found a stick that suited his needs. He slapped it in the air like he was swinging at something twice. He said, thank you very much. And him and Prince Akubon started walking down the trail again. And as they got a little distance away from the woman, Prince Akubon looked at Ariel and said, Ariel, what are you going to do with that stick? Ariel said, you shall see. So as they walked up to this village. It wasn't that small, but it was a nice-sized village. It was big enough to have a village square where there was trade going on. And in this village, there was a magician. And this magician had a puppet, and he was very good with this puppet. He had the puppet looking like it almost talked on its own, and he moved it with little strings that was connected to his fingers, so it was more like a marionette. And the little puppet danced and sang, and they stopped and they watched it and they enjoyed it. Neither one of them had money to throw out, because as you remember, Prince Akubon lost his money, and of course, Ariel didn't have none, so they just watched, and they was really enjoying the show all the way up until this dog noticed the puppet and ran up and just attacked the puppet because he didn't know what it was, and he attacked it and tore it up. And the magician grabbed his sword and was about to strike the dog down. And Ariel ran up and said, no, don't kill the dog. The dog don't know what it's doing. He said, but this dog has ruined my livelihood, and now it'll be harder for me to feed my family. And Ariel looked at the puppet and he said, man, I could fix that puppet. And the man said, what? He said, I could fix the puppet. If I fix the puppet, spare the dog. The man said, deal. So Ariel reached into his pocket, poured out that salve again out the bottle, and he poured a deep, thick liquid on his finger, and he rubbed it around the neck of the puppet. He connected the neck and the head back together. He connected the arms and legs back to the body with the salve. And all of a sudden the puppet started moving by itself and shaking, and it jumped up. And not only did it jump up, it jumped up and started speaking without any aid from the magician. And at first the magician was terrified, but then he realized that this puppet still was at his service, and he realized how much money he could make now that he had a puppet that moved without the strings. And he was so grateful that he told Ariel, hey, what do I owe you for this, besides the dog's life? Ariel says, you owe me nothing. But if you wanted to give me that sword, I would gladly take it. The magician said, you give me a fortune in the puppet that you have fixed for me, and all you want is this old sword? Ariel said, yes. And he gave him the sword. And Ariel took the sword out, he looked at it, and he smiled, and he slid it back into his holding, and him and Prince Akubon started walking away. And as they got outside the village, Akubon looked at Ariel and said, what are you going to do with that sword? And Akubon looked at the prince and said, you shall see. So as they walked, they saw the buildings of a beautiful city, which must belong to a great kingdom that, Akubon, since he never really been outside of Sankofa, never saw. But he said, this city has to have, it looks as great as the city that I come from. We must go there. So Ariel says, okay. So as they walk in towards the gates, the prince stops and look up, and he noticed that there's some beautiful birds flying and singing a beautiful song. And he says, Ariel, look up. That's beautiful. And Ariel looks up, and he sees the birds, and he listens to the song. He said, oh, yes, that is beautiful. They are singing a poem to the universe. He said, a poem to the universe? He says, yes. As soon as he finished his statement, one of the birds stopped dead in the sky and fell to the ground dead. And Prince Akubon and Ariel looked at the bird, and Ariel went up to the bird and cut off the wings and put them inside his pouch that was on his side that he was pulling the salve out of. And as they walked towards the gates, Prince Akaban couldn't help it but to ask, Ariel, what are you ever going to do with two birds' wings? And Ariel said, you shall see. So they walked through the gates, and as they walk up to the gates, and they walk through, there is a beautiful parade going on. I'm talking about a parade of parades with acrobats, fire breathers, jugglers, animals, soldiers. But at the end was a beautiful woman. And as she walked by, she caught and stole Akuban's heart. The prince was enamored by her beauty, and he had to have her. So he looked at one of the people that was standing next to him. He said, excuse me, sir, who is that beautiful woman on the horse? And the man said, sir, that is our princess. She is the daughter of the king. She is beautiful, but she is very cruel. He means what? Akaban said, what you mean? How could someone so beautiful be cruel? He says, everyone that comes to marry her must answer her question. And if they answer wrong, they are immediately put to death. Now, this story is a little bit longer than I thought, so I'm going to end it here. And I'm going to say this is part 1, and I will continue with part 2 on another night. So this is Brother Hatim. I'd like to thank you for your time. I'd like to thank you for your patience. I'd like to thank you for hanging in there for a story that was longer. I know I said I was going to try to make it through, but that was as fast as I could go. It's getting late. Brother got to get up and get to my passion in the morning. So y'all have a great night. All right? And be sure to hit me up at www.Gye-Nyame.com. Check out my other radio stations. Check out my blog. Also, check out my books. Feel free to email me. Feel free to text me. You can reach me at 614-594-9422. Feel free to text me. Ask me any questions about any of the projects or any of the things that I'm doing. And as well as send me emails and texts to let me know what you're doing so that I can follow you as well. This has been Brother Hatim, and I'd like to say I hope that your night is as beautiful as you are. With that, I say peace. Peace. This is Brother Hatim, and I'm coming to you with another episode of Folktales for Grown Folks. Now, I left off last time with a story called Witch with the Ugly Hat, and I'm going to part 2. Stay tuned to Folktales, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload all of the other stories that I did on Gye-Nyame Journey so that you can stay abreast. As you can tell, I'm coming live, of course, from Shisha Lounge at 2369 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43202. You know, I like coming here because the vibe is nice. There's a lot of people up in here, and the hookah is popping. So we're going to have a good time. And I'm going to give you these stories the best way I know how. But once again, stay tuned, because I'm going to be uploading some podcasts of some past stories that I told on Gye-Nyame Journey, which gave me the idea to start the Folktales for Grown Folks. And I noticed some holes in the story because the stories flow in a sequential manner where there's lessons that come out of them. Now, I'm going to have an alternate ending for this for some of you that want to use this story later and tell it to children. But for adults, it's a little bit different. But the lessons are all the same. Now, in a lot of these stories, the term magic comes up. So let me go and give you a basic explanation of magic. Magic is basically an art, or even can be looked at as a science, through which people are able to manipulate reality. Sometimes they use illusions, sometimes they use tricks, but it's knowing how things work. And in a sense, to be a true magician, you got to embrace the mystery of life, because in that mystery comes the magic. Because basically what we find out is that things that were considered magic in the past are now called science. So let's understand that when you call something magic, what you are admitting to is you're not being able to understand the qualities behind it, but are able to manipulate the forces. Let me give you an example of magic, and some of you out there might disagree with me. For me, walking is magic. I mean, I can understand. I mean, I could do it, but if you ask me to explain to you how I walk, I couldn't do it. So in a sense, that would be magic. But since we do this every day, we look at it and we really don't think of it as magical. But think about all the stuff that has to happen in your body in order for you to walk. How much stuff has to happen inside your body just for you to talk? If you were asked to stop walking or stop talking or stop running or doing some of the things that you do until you were able to explain it, you would never be able to do it. So magic describes things that people are able to do, but we are not able to articulate how to do. We are not able to explain it. So now let's get on with the story. So where I left y'all off last time, Prince Aquaman and Ariel were standing in a parade, and the prince saw a beautiful lady on a horse at the end of the parade, and he fell in love, and he found out that she was very cruel, and that all her suitors that came to her had to answer her questions, and if they were wrong, they lost their head. So the prince, after hearing this deepened his love and his desire for her, so he looked at Ariel and said, Ariel, I want to marry that woman. And Ariel asked him, said, are you sure, young prince? He said, yes, I'm more sure about this than anything else I have ever been sure of in my life. That is the woman for me. She was born for me, and I am going to marry her. So Ariel says, okay. He says, if you are going to go and answer her question and put your life on the line, you need to go and get some rest. So the first thing they did was they found some food and found a room. And they shared the room because their resources was very, very limited. So Ariel reached into his pocket and pulled out his bottle of salve and rubbed his finger on it. I told y'all about that in the last story. And he rubbed a little bit on the prince's forehead as the prince sat down on the bed. And before the prince's head hit the pillow, he was out cold sleep. At this point in time, after Ariel made sure that the prince was asleep, Ariel reached into his bag and pulled out the bird's wings. He grabbed the sword that he got, and he grabbed the stick. And he took the salve and he rubbed it on the bottom of the feathers or the wings, and he put these wings on his back as if he was an angel, and he walked towards the window and jumped out. And lo and behold, he didn't fall to the ground. He was able to fly. And as he was flying, he just circled up above the city, waiting for something. But at the same time, the princess was in her room, and she went to her door, made sure her door was locked, and she looked in the mirror and she recited some words. And these words transformed her into a bird, and immediately she jumped out the window and flew out. And Ariel seen her, and he started to follow her. Now, I don't know how Ariel knew, but she was flying, and he was flying right behind her, and he flew very close to her, and she didn't understand, or she didn't know he was there, but he got close enough to her to where he could hit her with his stick. And as she flew, he whacked her 3 times. Whack, whack, whack. And she like, man, she felt the pain, but she thought it was raindrops. And she flew until she came to a mountain and flew towards what seemed like a cave, but it wasn't a cave. it turned out to be a house. And Ariel flew right past her and came up behind and snuck up on the house. And the little princess knocked on the door, and there was an old sounding voice saying, "Come in." And she walked in. And as she walked in, she saw this witch with the ugliest hat that you could ever see. I mean, this hat just was hideous. I won't go into the description because I want you to use your imagination on this hat. This hat was so ugly that the princess had to look away and cover her mouth so that the witch wouldn't see her dislike of the hat. So she walked up to the witch and she says, "I need your help." The witch says, "Well, what is it, my dear?" And the princess says, "Well, there's a young man." Well, better yet, I've been using the same question for months, and I fear that the answer to my question has gotten out. So I need a new question, because I fear that some young man is going to come and answer the question, and I'll have to marry him. And I'm not ready to be married yet. So the witch says, let me think, and start rubbing her chin. And she says, and she noticed that the princess was wearing some gloves. And she says, "This time you will ask them to tell you what you are thinking." She said, "That's what I did last time. Slow down. But this time you will be thinking about your gloves." So the princess looked at her gloves and says, "Oh dear, that's a good one." And the witch says, "Yes, they'll never think of that one." So the princess thanks her and walks towards the door, say her magic words. After the door is closed, turns back into a bird and flies off. Ariel is waiting for her, and he flies right up behind her again where she can't see him. And he starts whacking her again. Whack, whack, whack. And she flies straight home. And she turns, gets in the mirror, says the magic words, and feels her back because she's like, it's sore. And she starts to wonder if something is happening as far as the magic, or is the rain cutting her because she's flying too fast. But she's like, man, she lays down in bed and she noticed she has some little whelps on her back. And she's like, what's going on? And Ariel flies back to the house. And he lands. He takes off the wings, put them back in his bag, and wakes up in the morning before the prince and cooks the prince a nice breakfast. And Prince Aquaban come down to eat. And as they're eating and talking, Ariel stops in the middle of the conversation and looks at the prince very seriously. And he says, if the princess asks you to tell her what she's thinking, or what she's thinking of, you should reply, her gloves. Now the prince started laughing and didn't really take this too seriously, because he said, there's no way this could be the question. All right, so he leaves and he goes. He presents himself to the king of that land, and he presents himself to the princess, and she got this ho-hum attitude about him, and she's looking at him like, oh, here's another victim. And all the guards are kind of excited because they haven't been able to cut nobody's head off in a while. So the prince bows to the princess and says, I am here to answer any question that you present me with, so that I might take your hand in marriage. She says, whatever. She says, okay, let's cut to the chase here. Tell me what I am thinking of. And the prince is kind of shocked, because this is the exact question that Ariel told him at the table. And Ariel and the prince, Aquaban, thought about it for a second. He says, I only get one chance, so I really don't believe in coincidence, but he looks at the princess dead in her eyes and says, you are thinking of your... And he pauses, and the men around him that work for the princess are getting these swords and pulling them out slowly. He said, you are thinking of your gloves. And she jumps up, angry, saying, there's no way that you could have did that. There's no way you could have figured it out. How did you know that? How did you know that? No, father, he cannot marry me. I cannot be taken that easily. He must have some trick or something, because I don't know how he knew that, but that's exactly what I'm thinking about. And the prince Because the king is about to tell her, hey, you got to keep your word. Now, you need to marry this man. But the prince looks at the lady and says, my dear, I believe that you are here for me, and I was born to marry you. So I will fulfill your wish and come back tomorrow and answer whatever question you have. And the prince leaves confidently, and he goes meet with Ariel, and he's excited. He tells Ariel that he guessed it, and Ariel says, are you going to be married? When are you going to marry? He says, I have to go back again. And Ariel says, what? Are you sure you want to do this? The prince says, I've never been sure about anything. So Ariel says, if you are going to present yourself to this princess tomorrow and answer her question and put your life on the line, we better get you fed and get you back to sleep. So they go through the same thing again. They go eat, and they return to the room, and the princess down on the bed. Ariel reaches into his pocket, pulls out the magic salve, rubs it on the prince's forehead, and before the prince's head hit the pillow, he's out cold. Ariel goes through the same ritual again. He grabs the sword. He grabs the stick. He pulls the salve out of his pocket, pulls the wings out of his bag. He puts the salve on the edges of, or the back of the wings, attaches it to his back, and jumps out the window and flies. Once again, waiting for the princess. And just at that moment, as he's circling, the princess says her magic words in the mirror after making sure that her room is clear and that her door is locked. And she turns into a bird and flies out the window. As she's flying, Ariel zooms down on her, and once again, he begins to whack her. Whack, whack, whack. And she's like, ah! You know, she's screaming. She don't know what's going on. Because being a bird, she can't really see behind her, and plus it's dark. So she flies to the cave, and Ariel does his thing again. He hides, and he waits, and he listens. And she walks into the cave. She knocks on the door. She says, the witch says, who is it? He says, the princess. You got to let me in. There's an emergency. So she walks in, and the witch with the ugly hat, as the princess turns away, she strengthens herself to look at that witch and that ugly hat. And she says, a young man came in today and he guessed exactly what I was thinking about. The witch says, oh, did he? So we must come up with something else. So, of course, we'll stick to the same question. But this time, and she noticed that the princess was wearing a beautiful crown, she says, you will ask him to tell you what you are thinking about. She says, I know. The princess says, I know that already, but what should I be thinking about? And the witch looks at her crown and says, and points and says, you will be thinking about your crown. And she starts to laugh because she knew no one could figure this out. Ariel is listening very closely and intently. And the princess is full of joy because she's like, I'm going to get rid of this guy because he should have never volunteered to come back, trying to outsmart me with his little tricks. So she walks towards the door, and she goes out. She says her magic words, turn into a bird, and takes off flying, and Ariel is right behind her. And as she flies, Ariel comes back down on her with his stick, and he whack, whack, whack her on her back. And she flies in, and she's screaming, and her back is sore, and she turns back into the princess, and she looks in the mirror, and she noticed that the whelps are getting deeper. She says, ooh. She goes to bed and has trouble sleeping because she's in pain, and she don't know what's causing the pain, but she know it has something to do with the magic. At least she thinks. Ariel flies back to the room with the prince, and when the prince wakes up in the morning, they sit down and eat their breakfast, and Ariel, in the middle of their conversation again, tells the prince, if the princess asks you again to tell her what she's thinking about, you should say she's thinking about her crown. So the prince looks at her more seriously this time. He takes it, he takes note, and he leaves. And he goes, presents himself to the king and the princess, and he bows and says, Princess, I am here to answer any question that you have. And the princess says, whatever. crosses her legs, look at him in a dismissive type of way, and she says, okay, now, smart man, tell me what I am thinking about right now. And this time, the prince decides to add a sense of drama, so he sits silent for a little while because he could hear the men back there itching to chop his head off, and they start sliding the swords out, and you can hear the sound in the background. And right when the sound stops and he feels the presence of these men coming in on him to chop off his head, he says, Princess, you are thinking of your crown. And she jumps up angrily like, how could you know that? There's no way you could know that. There's no way. And the king, she looks at his father and says, Father, there's no way that he could have known this, and I demand that he come back. And the prince says, hold on. And the king is silent. He says, Your Majesty and Princess, now, I was challenged to answer one of your questions, and I put my life on the line. I came back and I answered another one of your questions. And to show my love for you, I will come back and put my life on the line a third time and answer your question again. And the king just shook his head. And all the guards shook their head in amazement at the bravery of this young man. And the prince turned around and left. And he told Ariel what happened, and Ariel was first thrilled, but Ariel looked stricken after he told him that he volunteered to come back again after answering a question for the second time, putting his head on the line. So Ariel says, look, you're going to have to get rest. I don't think this is a wise decision, but you definitely need rest tonight because this is it. You know, you need to really, really get some rest. So they take him to the room, they eat, and he sits on the bed, and Ariel goes back up to Prince Aquaban and puts the salve on his forehead again, and before his head hit the pillow, he's out cold. He goes to sleep. And now, Ariel prepares again. He grabs his sword, he grabs his stick, he takes the wings out of his bag, and he puts the salve on the ends of the wings and attaches them to his back. Now, he straps the wings on and flies out the window, and he circles waiting for the princess. Now, the princess' back is very sore. She's like, man, this is going to be the last time I do this because there's something wrong with this magic, and I'm tired of looking at that witch's ugly hat. And I'm starting to kind of like this guy. I kind of hope that he answers right this time. So she flies off to the witch. And as she goes to the witch, Ariel zooms in on her again, and he hits her 3 times. Whack, whack, whack. She flies, and the pain is increasing because he's hitting the same spot. And she's like, oh my goodness, I'll never go here again. So she flies, and she goes to the witch. She walks into the cave, and the witch got this ugly hat on, and she says, Witch, I need your help. A young man has guessed again. She said, he did? Well, I have something for him. This time, you will be thinking about. And the witch started laughing. She says, this time, you will be thinking about my crown. And she starts laughing, pointing at her head. And the girl is like, oh my goodness, he'll never think about that one. Okay, witch. But kind of remorsefully, the princess leaves, and she turns into a bird, and she flies off. But this time, Ariel doesn't follow her. He stays at the cave, and he waits for the princess to fly out of sight. As soon as she's out of sight, he knocks on the door. Knock, knock, knock. The witch screams, who is it? There's no answer. Ariel just hides in the shadows, waiting. He knocks again, and this time the witch storms towards the door in anger and sticks her head out the door and says, who's knocking on my door? As soon as she sticks her head out the door, and Ariel could see the ugly hat, he pulls his sword and he chops off her head. And the head falls and the hat falls. The head hits the ground first, and then the hat. As soon as the hat hits the ground, her body turns to dust. He takes the crown or her hat and he places it in his bag. Now, for some reason now, this bag seems to be magical because it expands and it fits this big, ugly hat. Because this witch had a big-ass head. Well, anyway, he puts it in his bag and he flies straight to the prince's room. And he goes to sleep, and in the morning when he wakes up, he's sitting down eating with the prince. And the prince is about to leave, and the prince is wondering why Ariel is not giving him any advice. And he turns around and says, well, Ariel, you don't have anything to share with me today? Ariel says, oh, yes, Prince, it slipped my mind. If the witch, or if the princess asks you to tell her what she's thinking of, he takes off his bag, he hands it to the prince. He says, take this bag, reach your hand in it, and pull out what's inside. Now, the prince had questions, but he didn't ask. Because all this time, Ariel has not been wrong, so he figured he's not going to be wrong this time. So he straps on the bag, and he walks to the palace, and he walks in, and the guards are looking real happy because they know today they're going to chop somebody's head off. And the princess is looking quite remorseful, but the prince looked full of confidence. And she says, you again. Okay, tell me what I am thinking about. The prince falls silent. And the guards move in. And he bows. And he looks up. And the guards move closer. And you can hear the swords coming out. And he says, And he reaches into the bag, and all of a sudden the bag expands, and it kind of catches him by surprise, and he reaches down and pulls out the ugliest hat anyone ever seen. The guards, out of shock at the ugliness of the hat, drop their swords. The king throws up, and the princess jumps up and is shocked and runs to him and says, how did you get that? And knocks it out of his hand and hugs him and says, yes, I'll marry you. I will marry you. You know, and by that time, she had decided she was never going to see that witch again, and she was kind of happy because she knew that if he had that hat, that the witch no longer existed. So he sat down with the father and started making arrangements, and he told the father his story, and the father was very impressed that not only was his daughter about to marry a prince of another province and someone who belonged to, in a sense, the Gye-Nyame Federation, because the king was thinking about moving his whole kingdom into the Gye-Nyame Federation. He was thrilled that he had a son-in-law, or was going to get a son-in-law that was brave. But the young man said he needed to take some time. First, he had to go and tell his best man about his victory, and then he needed to return home immediately to let his father know of his adventure, because his father didn't have that much longer to live. So he left, and he first stopped to speak with Ariel. He went to Ariel, and Ariel was looking joyful. He said, young prince, tell me, why are you so happy? The prince says, well, as you know, I went to go talk to the princess, and I answered her question, thanks to you. And I want you to be my best man. Not only my best man, but I want you to be the advisor, my advisor, from here until one of us leaves first. And Ariel looks at the king in a very sorrowful way. He says, well, young prince, our journey together is done. And unfortunately, I can't be your best man. And the prince looks shocked. He says, but I'm offering you wealth. I'm offering you a lifelong friendship and a lifelong bond and everything that comes with it. And Ariel says, well, prince, my debt to you is paid, and now I must return to where I'm from. And the prince says, what you mean, Dad? I never met you before that road. He says, oh, but Prince, you did meet me. You don't remember paying those men those 30 gold pieces to rebury a body? He says, yes, I remember that. He says, well, that body was mine. And I was so grateful to you that I begged for permission to come from the afterlife back to this life to assist you in your journey. And the prince was shocked. He said, so you saying that you are an ancestor? He says, yes. But now I must return. And Prince, I wish you the best in life. And he disappeared. Now the prince was sad because, you know, he lost someone who had become his best friend. And on top of that, he was sad because all this time he was with an ancestor and he didn't even know. So he immediately went to his kingdom, his father's kingdom, and told his father about his adventure. And his father was well pleased and felt that he could die now and turn the kingdom over to Prince Akuban. Prince Akuban eventually became king of his father's kingdom and eventually the king of his princess, or now his wife, died, and they eventually united both kingdoms and they ruled it together peacefully. This has been Brother Hatim, and this is another folk tale for grown folks. Now, you could change the end if you're going to tell it to children if you don't want to spook them out, and you could just take out the part about the witch getting her hair cut off, because actually that's what it's about, the witch getting her hair cut off. And also there's another lesson in there about magic and about mysteries. In another story that I'll be telling soon, one of the things that I make sure the children understand that when we're dealing with life, whether we're dealing with issues that we understand or issues that we don't understand like magic, it's always best to get to the root. If you get to the root of the magic or the mystery and cut off the root, you solve the problem. Or if you deal with the root, you don't necessarily have to cut it off. But you got to get to the root of a thing to really solve the problem. And the root of the witch's magic, of course, was the hat. Because the hat was so ugly that it had to have some power for her to wear that ugly thing. And Arel must have knew this somehow. But that's my opinion. You get out the story what you need to get out of it. This has been Brother Hatim, and this is another chapter in Folk Tales for Grown Folks. So I hope you enjoy. You like it, share it. Look on, because I'm going to be uploading some new podcasts as well. And I'd like to thank you for your time and thank you for your ear. With that, Brother Hatim says, peace.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. During the challenging times we're all experiencing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that'll never change is our commitment to giving you the best mortgage experience. At Rocket Mortgage, our guiding philosophy of every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, exists for times like right now. We understand that hardships may arise, and we're prepared to help. If you currently work with us and need assistance with your mortgage, contact us 24/7 at rocketmortgage.com. As we all think about ways to save money, let me remind you that mortgage rates are near historic lows. If you think right now is the right time to refinance your mortgage, our home loan experts are available to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at rocketmortgage.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
This is Spreaker Web Radio.
Peace. This is Brother Hatim, and I am back on the journey. I must apologize. I didn't have a live show on Friday. I was wore out, got home, laid down. So, forgive me for those that like Freestyle Fridays. Plus, I was just so tired of the damn election. I didn't know what to do. Anyway, here's another edition of my Gye-Nyame Journey special. And I might do a whole another radio station just for my folk tales for grown folks. So, you know, put the kids to bed and get ready to listen to this one. This one is called The Monkey and the Crocodile. Now,
First, let me send out some shots. I want to send out shots to, of course, Oxy Water. You know what I'm saying? For those that's trying to change their life and want to do the healthy thing, or just want a good drink to have, a good drink that's going to help your body produce energy, help your body find the energy within rather than stimulating it so that you can have a crash. Oxy Water doesn't do that. Oxy Water is the world's first oxygen-enhanced flavored mineral water. Be sure to go and give some a try. You know what I'm saying? So for those that's interested, go to www.tryoxywater.com. Also, I want to send out shots to Orange 82. Go and check out their stuff. They give us the intro and the exit and the commercial music for the Freestyle Fridays and any shows that I do live when I'm able to do it live on my computer. So I want to make sure that they are getting their shots. And I want to thank them. You go to www.orange82.com and get some surfing music. Support the brother. Listen to some of the new stuff that the artists of Orange 82 are producing, and some good stuff. It's good surfing music. So when you're up late night, you need upbeat music without the lyrics so that you can focus on your thoughts rather than what somebody is saying. And you just need a nice little beat to groove to. I call it surfing music. Get on it and just surf, you know. Orange 82, check it out. Also, you know, you can go to my blog, www.Gye-Nyame.com. Check me out. You can also look at my books. If you look on the side, I have my books. I have the updated version of the Player's Pyramid that you could use to make some major changes in your life. Help you establish a basic principle system that will help you move towards where you want to be in your life. Also, you can check out the Lost Art of Storytelling. You can check out the Gye-Nyame Journey Workbook, which is an excellent book, which gets into some of the proverbs that you could, and it gives you a system for a 90-day period that you can use to help you use the proverbs to help form and shape your life. Basically, because these are some wise words that I compiled. Some are quotes, some are proverbs that you can use to help guide you towards where you want to be and get your mind focused on what it is you want to focus on. Also, you can also check out my poetry book. It's called Poetry is My Religion, and that's one of my takes on the world and how I see the world. So you could go and check out any of those books. Now I got some new books coming out, so be sure to look for them. Of course, I'm gonna do something with this Folktales for Grown Folks. So, you know, enough for the commercial break, and now on to the story. So here we go. Long ago, there was a river, and in this river there lived a crocodile who, from this moment on, we'll call him Mr. Crocodile. And Mr. Crocodile was swimming in this river looking for food, and the hunting was very sparse during this period of time, and he was very hungry. So, you know, to conserve energy, he pulled up under a tree on the edge of the river. He crawled up on there, got in the shade, and just was chilling. And it just so happened that this was a fruit tree, and this fruit tree was the home of our next character, who will be known as Mr. Monkey. Mr. Monkey looked down and saw Mr. Crocodile pull up, and he said, "Hey, Mr. Crocodile, how you doing today?" The crocodile said, "I'm doing good. I would be doing better if I could find some food. Do you know where I could find some food?" Well, the monkey said, "Well, I know you eat meat, and I'm not about to come down there for you to eat, but since I don't eat meat, I can't tell you where to find no food, but I got plenty of fruit." The crocodile, Mr. Crocodile, looked up at him and said, "Look, I'm a crocodile, I don't eat no fruit." Mr. Monkey said, "Don't knock it till you try it." So they talk a little while, you know, the conversation get good, and the crocodile finally say, "Well, hey, I'll try some of that fruit." So the monkey throw him down about 3 of these fruit. I'm not going to say what the fruit is. It's just real sweet.
And if the crocodile chews on this fruit, he has never, ever had anything this sweet and this good before. And he sits there and he eats it and he says, oh my God, this is delicious. Mr. Monkey asked him, Mr. Monkey, like, sure, I got tons of it. This tree produces fruit all the time. Mr. Monkey shares his fruit with this crocodile. This crocodile eating the fruit, and he go home full. And his wife looks at him when he comes home, and Mrs. Crocodile is like, you look kind of full there. I didn't find any food. You found some food? He said, well, I didn't find the traditional food that we eat, but I did find this fruit. She said, what is fruit? He said, it's this stuff that grows in a tree. She said, in a tree? We eat meat, man. So, he changed the subject and they talk, and then the next day he goes out looking for some meat, and he decides he's going to go back and chill with Mr. Monkey, and maybe Mr. Monkey will share some more of this fruit. So he goes back to the tree, and Mr. Monkey's up there as cheerful as ever, and like, hey, Mr. Crocodile. Hey, Mr. Monkey, how you doing? Oh, man, I'm doing great. And they start their conversation. And Mr. Monkey said, hey, you want some fruit? He said, sure. And Mr. Monkey throws down a lot of fruit, and they start talking and having a good time, and before you know it, the day is gone. Mr. Crocodile has been eating food all day. He's full again. He goes home, and his wife looking at him funny like, oh, my God, what are you eating? And she started complaining about her not being able to find no food. So the next day when he goes up under the tree, him and Mr. Monkey is talking, and they're getting real cool. Mr. Monkey like, yo, so what's going on? Mr. Crocodile started explaining to him about how Mrs. Crocodile was complaining about not having no food. Mr. Monkey said, look, I got plenty of food, man. Why you ain't tell me you had a family full? Look, here's some fruit for you. Eat as much as you want and take some to your wife. So Mr. Crocodile grabs some of this fruit in his short little arms and swim home and gives his wife some fruit. And she sits down, and first she turns her nose up to it, but then her stomach gets the better of her pride because she's hungry, and she eats this fruit, and she is like, oh, my God, this is some good fruit. Where did you get this? Oh, But her mind went straight to something else. She said, you know what, husband? Ooh, you say you got this out of a tree? He said, yeah. And he said, and how do you get it down? He said, oh, Mr. Monkey throws it down to me. She said, Lord have mercy. This fruit is good, but I only could imagine how good that monkey would be because he eats nothing but this sweet fruit. Ooh, I would love to get my teeth on that little mug. Boy, Lord have mercy. Oh, Miss Crocodile, I love you, baby. Why don't you invite your friend Monkey over here and we can eat him? Mr. Crocodile is appalled. What is you talking about, woman? Mr. Monkey is my friend. We sit around and we talk, and he's the best friend I got, and he provides us with this food, and you weren't talking about wanting to eat, Mr. Monkey? Are you crazy? She say, but we are crocodiles. What the hell you expect? I'm hungry, and I want some meat. And this fruit is good, but I can only imagine how good that monkey would be. Miss Crocodile ends the subject, change the subject, and say, I will not eat my friend. So for the next couple of days, he's going back and forth, and he's eating, and he's bringing food home. And his wife every night is talking about how good that monkey would be. And Mr. Crocodile is not even hearing her. So one day he goes back over to Mr. Monkey's, and Mr. Monkey feed him, and they talk, and they get real close, and Mr. Monkey starts trusting Mr. Crocodile. Mr. Crocodile kind of likes Mr. Monkey. He don't, not kind of, but he really likes Mr. Monkey and feels that he is his friend. So on the way home, Mr. Crocodile is real happy, and he comes home to bring his wife some fruit, but she rolling around. Yo, I'm dying. And my husband won't help me. You ain't no good. My mama told me not to marry you in the first place. You dying. Miss Crocodile's like, what's wrong with you, woman? She say, I'm dying and you won't do anything to help me. Well, Mr. Crocodile loved Mrs. Crocodile. He like, baby, I will do anything for you. I will climb the highest mountain, spill the deepest sea. I'll do what do you need to feel better? She said, you won't give it to me. Yeah, like I said, my mama told me not to marry. You won't give it to me. Well, Miss Crocodile say, what is it? I'll give you whatever you need to make you feel better. She said, do you promise? He said, yeah, I promise. She said, no, that ain't good enough. Do you swear? I swear. She said, do the crocodile swear? So Mr. Crocodile raised his tail. And he said, I swear on all that a crocodile is that I will get you what you need to feel better. And all of a sudden her voice sounded clear again. She said, because the only thing that can make me feel better is the heart of a monkey. Now Mr. Crocodile is torn because he has made the crocodile oath, and being a crocodile of his word, he has to give his wife what he swore to. And it breaks his heart. And he cries all night. But in the morning he gets up and he does his regular thing and he goes to Mr. Monkey. And he sits there and they talk and they're having a good time as they usually do. And Mr. Monkey throw him some fruit and Mr. Crocodile eat, and they start talking. And Mr. Crocodile say, hey, Mr. Monkey, hey, would you like to take a ride with me? And Mr. Monkey thinks about it, and he's like, well, shit, he is my friend. I mean, the hell, I got to lose. Why not? And plus, you know, monkeys can't swim. And Mr. Monkey was kind of like, you know, it would make my image look good to all the other monkeys if I was able to be selling on the back of a crocodile. He's thinking all this, you know, and, you know, that'll up my, you know, make me the prime monkey around here. I'm the prime primate, you know, I'm the top monkey because I got a friend that's a crocodile. So go ahead and mess with me if you want. So everybody gonna see me like I'm walking on water, you know what I'm saying? I'm the miracle monkey. He's like, hell yeah, I want to ride with you. Yeah, sure. So the monkey come out the tree and jump on the crocodile's back. The crocodile slowly moves out into the water, and the monkey is having a good time. He's like talking to him, and Mr. Crocodile is laughing, and all the monkeys is out there looking at him, screaming, like, look at that fool out there on that crocodile's back. And Mr. Monkey's like, yeah, whatever. You hating, you know, you ain't got no crocodile of your own, so you want to hate on somebody who got a crocodile, you know what I'm saying? And Mr. Crocodile sees Mr. Monkey having a good time, and it makes him feel good that his friend is having a good time. And all of a sudden he's struck by the reality that he made this oath, he made this promise, and he feels he has to be honest with Mr. Monkey. He said, Mr. Monkey, I really, really enjoy your friendship, but unfortunately this is going to be the last time that we get together. Mr. Monkey like, why? Did I do something to offend you? He said, no, man, I messed up. I made my wife a promise. I made an oath on a crocodile swear. You know, I put my tail up and everything. I told my wife that I will bring you to her because he said the only thing that could heal her is the heart of a monkey. Now, Mr. Monkey went silent for a minute because he like, oh, man, this is a fucked up situation. Because think about this. Monkeys can't swim. I'm in the middle of a river. And I'm sitting on the back of a crocodile. And he's taking me to be eaten by his wife. Now, if I jump off his back and I start swimming, there's no way I'm going to beat him. And there's other crocodiles in these waters, and I'm going to be doomed. And there's no way that I could beat him and Miss Crocodile. I can't beat him by himself. And I know I can't beat him and Miss Crocodile. Lord knows how big she is. So Mr. Monkey uses the one thing that he got. And he says, oh, man, Mr. Crocodile, why you ain't tell me, man? We friends. Listen. A monkey's heart is in the place where the monkey loves. And you know the place that I love is the tree. So if you take me back to the tree, I will gladly give my heart for you, throw it down to you, and you could take it to your wife. And I look at it kind of like this option, because this means that he don't have to kill Mr. Monkey. He could just take his wife to heart and let her eat it, and she will be well. And he still got his friend, and he still got his wife. So he turns around and starts heading back towards the tree. And as soon as the monkey get close enough to the tree, he jumps off the crocodile's back, runs up the tree, turns around, grabs a fruit, and throws it down at the crocodile and hits him in the head. And says, "You goddamn fool, don't you know that a monkey's heart is in his chest?" And from that day on, monkeys and crocodiles have never been cool. Now, here's the lesson behind that one. Or this is what I pick up out of it. I don't know about you, because there might be some other stuff in there. Now, you might be bigger than me. You might be faster than me, and you might be stronger than me. But is one thing that I have over all my opponents. I have the ability to get smarter. So, you may be able to outrun me. You may be able to outstrength me. You may even have me beat by size. But I always will stay on top, because I use my mind. And I hope that you always remember that when you are going up against larger, faster, and supposedly stronger opponents. The one thing that you always have that you could use over them is your brains, is your wits. And you can always make your wits sharper. Because the thing that I teach those in Gye-Nyame is that our mind is our weapon of choice. And we sharpen it by asking questions and study. Are you sharpening your weapon? And is your mind your weapon of choice? So this has been Brother Hatim. I'd like to thank you for joining me on Gye-Nyame Journey. And with that, I say peace. Check me out on my blog, www.gyenyame.com. Peace.
Community was just hands down. That was our choice. It was a no-brainer. It's like a friendship thing to me.
It makes it so nice dealing with people that have the same values as you.
I feel that Community Bank does care about not only my business, but me personally.
Community Bank still has enough power, but small enough to have personal touch.
They're working with you. They're like the old-time bank. When I first started, that's the way the old banks used to be. The community seems to be that bank, the same old bank.
This is Spreaker Web Radio.
This is Brother Hatim. I just finished another 3 miles, so this is, of course, not on mile 3. This is a Gye-Nyame journey. I'm continuing with my tales, so I keep track of them, and hopefully you're getting something out of them, because, you know, when a lot of us was young, people stopped telling us the stories, and I wanted to resurrect the stories. So this is my version of the stories for grown folks. I call this my folk tales for grown folks. So go and check it out. This is one that I rewrote. All of them I rewrite for specific reasons, and I want you to get the lesson out of this. This one, you probably heard, those of you that's been following me for a while, you heard this one, and if you have my book, Lost Art of Storytelling, you know this tale. This is one of my staple stories, and I recently been experimenting with some young people, but now I'm going to do it for the grown folks. So if kids is listening, please go and escort them out the room, because of course, you know, Brother Hatim on Gye-Nyame Journey, I'm going to let it loose. So the words is going to be flowing, the cuss words probably going to come, because I am hip-hop, you know. I'm not saying that hip-hop is all cussing, but hip-hop is about expressing, and sometimes the cuss words make it a little easier to get an idea across, because I'm not necessarily trying to get you to understand what I'm saying when I'm using a cuss word. I'm trying to make sure I got your attention. Two, I'm also trying to evoke an emotion, because if the tales don't evoke emotions, what good are they? You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't go to a movie that didn't evoke some emotion. You wouldn't pay no money for a movie that's not evoking your emotion. And most of the time you won't buy a book that's not evoking your emotion. So bear with me as I do my stories in my style. So long ago on a plane, you could say it's in Africa, you could say wherever, a plane, not a flying plane, but an African plain, a grassland that stretched for miles and miles. There was a pride of lions. For those that don't know, lions move in pride and with pride. And they move together and they hunt together. And the female lions are the major hunters, and they go out and they're able to catch this prey, and the male lions protect the female lions as they go out and get the prey, because the male lion is bigger and is able to protect what is captured, although he takes what's called the lion's share, but it's a good deal for everybody involved, because everybody eat and you get to keep it, because them hyenas is always out, and them jackals is always out, and them vultures is always out, and some of them are too big for the female lions to go up against. So it's up to that male lion to get down there and protect it. Well, anyway, there was a certain pride, and they had a nice little piece of property that they monitored and protected, and it was their land, and they did their thing, but somehow they got some type of disease, and the majority of this pride died, leaving one female lion and her young Simba cub. Now, this female lion had a tough choice to make. She could go and join another pride. They would gladly welcome her, but they was going to kill her young Simba, her young lion. Why? Because male lions don't like any other male lions coming in unless they are directly related to them. It's just the way lions are. As a matter of fact, you can see some of this behavior in our communities when these women hook up with men, and these men try to destroy these boys. It's just something about the energy of one man coming into your house, and then there's these little lion cubs that belong to this other man. Some men go to their base instincts and try to destroy these children. Lions are like that, and they still up to this day do that. You bring a young male lion into a pride where he wasn't born, and one of the male lions is not the father, and he is going to die. So she had a choice to make. Either she would go join a pride and allow her young Simba to become a victim, or she could go and move and find find a place to stay and raise her Simba. So this mother Simba decided that she was going to raise her young Simba. So she found a cave, and she gave him specific instructions. Do not leave this cave. So she would go out and she hunt, and she was an excellent huntress, and she would be able to bring all types of game back to the cave for the baby to eat. And they ate, and sunrise she'd get up and she'd go out, sunset she'd come back with the food, and they would eat. And this went on for a while, and eventually one time she went out and never returned. First day, the young Simba thought maybe she wasn't able to get nothing or bring it back. Second night, he really started to get worried and started having fear. Third night, he's getting hungry, and he's getting hungrier, and nights go by, and sunset, sunrise, sunset, sunrise. His mom never comes, and he's getting really concerned. So eventually, he ventures out the cave to try to find her. And in trying to find her. He ended up getting lost and couldn't get back to the cave, and eventually just kept walking until, from exhaustion and hunger, he basically laid down to die. Now, it just so happened that there was a herd of sheep that just happened to be around there grazing. And one of the female sheep stumbled on this lost little Simba, and she took mercy upon him, and she fed him her milk and allowed this Simba to chill with her. But the rest of the herd looked at her like, you crazy woman, do you know that this little Simba is going to grow up into a full-grown Simba, and Simba's eat us? She said, I don't care, because she just had lost two of her own babies, and that motherly love overcame her, and she said, I will take him as my own, and I will raise him. And she raised him. And she raised him so good as a sheep that he began to think he was a sheep. He forgot all the experiences of being a young lion, and he became a sheep. He ate like sheep. He drank like sheep. He grazed like sheep. He began to act like a sheep and forgot all of the ways of a lion. And his teeth began to go soft because he wasn't eating like a lion, and his nails became dull because he wasn't playing and doing things like a lion. And he began to walk with the sheep and he grew, and he became a full-grown lion thinking he was a sheep. He even barked like sheep. So as he grew, the herd accepted him, and he grew up with some young sheep. But the sheep were very mean to this lion. They would say things to him like, you are the ugliest damn sheep I have ever seen in my life. Look at these teeth. These teeth ain't, you got the ugly, you are a mutant. Something wrong with you. What's going on? Even when you say baa, the baa don't even come out right. You are the ugliest and the clumsiest sheep I have ever seen. When we traveling as a herd, you falling all over everybody because you can't follow a herd. You can't even follow a herd right. You are the dumbest, most clumsiest, ugliest sheep I have ever seen in my life. They knew he was different. He knew he was different, but deep down, he was trying to be the only thing he knew how to be, and that was a sheep. But the sheep always let him know that he didn't fit. We accept you as a sheep, yeah, it's cool, you fit in, but you the ugly sheep. You worse than the black sheep. You just don't fit. Well, anyway, one day when he was out playing with his peers, one of the male sheep with horns came up behind him and knocked him down and started laughing. Bah, look at this ugly sheep. Little Puck won't even get up and fight. And all the other sheep that was with him started laughing. Yeah, bang, 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 laughing at him. Well, anyway, they didn't know because they weren't paying attention. Hiding in the bushes, just creeping up, was a full-grown Simba. And he came up at the tail end, and all he saw was his brother lion being knocked down by these sheep. And he was going to mind his business because he thought this was another lion's hunt, and he didn't want to mess it up and have to fight with this lion. But he saw this lion knocked down, and the pride that he walked in, and the pride, he thought about it. He said this would be dismal for the reputation for all lions if I let this slide here, because I'm totally confused. I ain't never seen a lion get knocked down by a sheep, maybe a water buffalo, maybe a rhinoceros, maybe even an elephant, but a sheep? Hell no. So he jumped out, running full speed, and all of the sheep seen him and scattered except for the one that knocked the young lion that thought he was a sheep down. And this sheep turned around and lunged at him at full speed because it was his role with horns to try to protect all the sheep and at least give them some time to get away. So he ran up to this lion. This lion struck him down with one blow and killed him with one hit. And he went over to the young lion who thought he was a sheep and saw him laying down, shaking, and he thought he was just shook up. He said, listen, my brother, I see that your hunt went bad, and I came out to assist you. We could share the spoils. We ain't got to fight over the spoils, but I thought I would give you a helping hand. And he put his paw down and helped the lion up. And he noticed that the lion was shaking, and then he said, my brother, what the hell is wrong with you? And the lion that thought he was a sheep looked up at him and said, with tears in his eye, please don't eat me. And the lion thought it was a joke, thought this lion was trying to keep his pride together by telling a joke, and he fell out laughing. Oh, I never heard one like that. That's a good one, lion. So he got back up and he put his foot out. Now get up. You are hilarious. You might be able to join my pride because you just ridiculously funny. And he saw this lion was really shaken and scared. And he said, please don't eat me. He said, my brother, what's wrong with you? He said, I'm just a little sheep, please. I'm just beginning my life as a full-grown sheep. I just... And Simba, the real Simba, looked at him and was shocked because he was like, my God, this lion really thinks that he's a sheep. So he reaches down and he snatches this lion up and drags him to a puddle of water and said, you are not a sheep. Yes, I am a sheep. You're not a sheep. So he forces him to look at the reflection in the water. And he says, look at my whiskers. Look at your whiskers. Look at my nose. And look at your nose. He forced his mouth up and said, look at your teeth. And look at my teeth. Look at my mane. And look at your mane. Look at my paws. And look at your paws. Look at your claws. Forced his claws out. Look at my claws. Look at yourself. Tell me what you see. What does this tell you? The little lion looked at his reflection, then he looked back at the full-grown lion. He said, you must be an ugly sheep too. And the lion took it very seriously. He said, I am not a sheep. You may think that you are a sheep, but I know what I am. I am a lion, and my pride runs these plains. So don't you ever, ever call me a sheep. I eat sheep. I eat antelope. These animals are my prey. And you can pretend to be a sheep if you want, but I am a lion. Now, young Simba, you have a choice. Either you could stay here and pretend to be a sheep, or you could come with me and learn to be what you truly are. And the young lion was confused. He didn't understand what was going on, and he was really confused because he had never been faced with the reality that he was really different and that he may not be a sheep. So the older lion snatched him up again and drug him over to the sheep that he had killed. And he told him, I'm going to show you that you're a lion. And he ripped off a piece of the flesh of the sheep that he just had killed. And he gave the young lion a piece. And he forced it down his jaw, and he grabbed his jaws and forced him to eat. And something started happening to the lion inside. Because he hadn't ate meat since he was little, and he didn't remember, and something in him started to boil, and although at first it was a terrible thought that he was eating one of his brothers, it just jumped up on him all of a sudden, and all of a sudden, through that pure instinct, he jumped up and he started tearing at the flesh of the sheep that was there, and he was confused, and he was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And the lion said, no. You're doing what you were born to do. Don't feel guilty for being who and what you are. you're lost. And you have a fatal choice that you have to make right now, a crucial choice that you have to make. Once again, you could come with me and learn to be a lion, or you could stay here and pretend to be something that you are not. And the young lion sat down with his confusion and thought for a second and began rocking back and forth because he was confused. He didn't know what decision to make. So he decided to ask a question, and he said, I would go with you, but it looks like you live a lonely existence. You see, in the herd, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to think. We just move from place to place, and we could eat grass together, and we could roam, and as long as we stay together, we're cool. I don't have to think. I don't have to take any responsibility. And it looked like that you live a long, hard, and lonely life. And the lion stepped back. Simba stepped back, and he said, let me show you something, little brother. And he did his roar. And he said, and the roar echoed out in the plains. And it was silent for a moment. But eventually, the young lion heard other roars coming back. He said, you hear that? That's my pride. And as long as you live as a Simba, you never have to worry about being alone, because as we walk these plains, we are never alone because we walk the soil of our ancestors. We walk with pride, and we walk in pride, and we work together, and we are never alone, even when you are out here by yourself. So, young Simba, you can come with me, or you could stay here and once again pretend to be something that you're not. So the young Simba said, I'll go with you, elder. Teach me. Now, that's the end of the story, at least of that story. But I hope you got the message out of it. Don't be ashamed of who and what you are. If you are a Simba, allow your roar to roll out on the plains of your life. And when you follow your true path, you'll know that you are never alone, because those that came before you blazed a trail and they left it for you, and you'll never be alone. When you are confronted by fears, you find that that fear will be transformed into something that'll be beautiful if you just face it. So I'm going to leave it there. You go and get the lesson. This has been Brother Hatem. I'd like to thank you for your time. I didn't send out shots to those things I love at the beginning, so I do it at the end. I want to send shots out to Oxy Water, the world's first flavored mineral water, oxygen-enhanced flavored mineral water. Your one-stop shop for a nutrition drink. Check it out. Go to www.tryoxywater.com. Also, I want to give shouts out to Orange 82 that provides me with my music for my live shows, the intro and the exit music, as well as the commercial music. So go and check out Orange 82 at www.orange82.com. This has been Brother Hatem, and this has been one of my folk tales for grown folks. So get the lesson and keep it moving. And with that, Brother Hatem says peace.
At www.spreaker.com, create your own radio show and find thousands of exclusive radio channels.
Peace, this is Brother Hatem. I'm at the end of another mile 3 But of course, I'm not doing this one on mile 3 because I'm keeping up with my stories. And this story that I'm going to do for you today is one that is close to my heart because it has a lesson that I am working on mastering. Yes, I admit it. I am guilty of the crime that this parable talks about. So, first giving shouts out to Oxy Water. Give it a try. If you're trying to make some lifestyle changes, it's a one-stop drink. It not only provides hydration, but it provides minerals. It provides some B vitamins. It provides some ginseng. And it also has no sugar. So go and look it up at www.tryoxywater.com. Also, check out Orange 82 that provides me with my intro and exit music when I do my show live. And I know I haven't done a live show in a couple of weeks, but I've been busy and I got other excuses, but I won't bore you with my excuses. I just give you my apology and keep it moving, and we will get back on track soon. So stick with me. All right, now, so this story is entitled The Swans and the Turtle, the adult version. So please send the kids out. So a long time ago, when animals still communicated with each other, and I'm about to come up with the story for why animals no longer communicate between each other as well as with human beings. That's another story. Well, anyway, you had this turtle in this beautiful lake, and the lake was surrounded by some beautiful woods, a forest, and behind the forest was a beautiful mountain. So use this time to meditate and see this beautiful lake, the sun shining down on it, and surrounded by a beautiful forest that's full of animals. And that is in the background is a very high and majestic mountain. And this turtle had lived here for ages. No one knew how old the turtle was, and I'm not going to ask the turtle how old the turtle was, and where I got the story from didn't say how old the turtle was, so that don't make a damn difference how old the turtle was, but he was old enough to know everything about the lake. He knew how deep the lake was. He knew how big the lake was. He knew the perfect places to catch the best fish. He knew the best places that if you like to eat bugs, where he could send you to find the best bugs. He knew where the mosquitoes bred at. He knew where the flies bred at. He knew everything about the lake. He knew when the temperature was off, and he knew what the average temperature was supposed to be. He knew everything about the forest around him. He knew each tree. He could tell you what type of tree it was. He could tell you why the leaf was in the shape it was, and he could tell you what the tree needed for the optimal lifestyle of that tree. He could tell you about all the animals in the forest because he had been studying each and every last one of them. And he could also tell you about the mountain in the back. He could tell you why the mountain was there. He could tell you how high the mountain was. He could tell you about the rocks that formed the mountain. He not only could tell you about everything around there, he could tell you about the stars that went across the sky at night, and tell you about each constellation that appeared, and tell you the story behind each constellation that appeared. And he could tell you about the sun. He could tell you the exact temperature of the sun. He could tell you how big the sun was, how much bigger it was than the earth. And he knew before scientists knew from his observation that the earth rotated around the sun rather than the sun rotating around the earth. This turtle was brilliant. But he talked. So he spent a lot of time by himself because nobody wanted to know all this information all the time. He would just chase people away with his conversation. He talked more than Mr. Brown. Or better yet, Brother Hatim. He spoke more than me. Think about that. This turtle would talk. So one day, in this beautiful lake, surrounded by this beautiful forest, with the majestic mountain in the back, there was 2 swans born. And anybody ever seen swans know that they are beautiful once they become full grown. But from our fables when we was young, we know that they start off as little ugly duckling-like things. And the turtle stumbled across them, and they was concerned about how they looked and how other people was making fun of them or other animals was making fun of them. And the turtle told them about their destiny, and he told them how beautiful they would become and how everybody would marvel at how beautiful they were. And he sat there and he made these swans feel good about themselves. And since they was young and they wanted to learn about the world, who better to teach them about the world than this talkative turtle? And this turtle took advantage of it, and he spoke with these little swans every day, and he taught them everything that he could about that lake, about that forest, about each and every animal that came to drink at the lake, and about every animal and every rock over on that majestic mountain in the back. So, as these swans grew, everything that the turtle had told them about themselves came true. They became very beautiful and majestic, and animals looked at them in awe and looked at how beautiful they were. Either they were looking at the swans, marveling at their beauty, or looking at them and licking their lips, wishing that they could get a hold of them. But because the turtle taught them so well, they knew exactly where to go and where not to go. They knew exactly what animals to talk to and what animals not to talk to. Oh, these were some wise swans. Well, as time went on, the lake eventually began to dry up. Yes, and nobody knew why, not even the turtle. The turtle went through all of his calculations and all of his thoughts about what was going on, but he couldn't figure out what was going on, and eventually the beautiful lake that was once a beautiful lake became a puddle. All the fish disappeared. All of the animals began to leave. Even the forest began to dry up, and nobody knew why. So one day, the swans, out of desperation for food, jumped up and flew away. And they flew over the forest, and as they flew, they talked about what their turtle friend had told them about the animals that they saw leaving the forest. They remember what the turtle told them about each of the trees and the plants that grew and the herbs that they were able to eat when they were sick to get well, because the turtle was able to direct them and guide them to a good life. And they spoke fondly about their friend turtle. And they flew up and over the mountain. And as they flew over the mountain, they remembered everything that the turtle had taught them about the mountain. They knew exactly how high it was, so they knew exactly how high they had to fly to get over this mountain. And they flew up and over the mountain, and as they flew over the mountain, they still reminisced about everything that their friend turtle taught them. And they flew, and they flew, and it seemed like they flew for a very long time. And eventually they flew across another forest, and they saw new animals that they had never saw before, and they began to talk amongst themselves and wonder if the turtle knew about these new animals. And they landed in a more majestic and a more beautiful lake. And they ate their fill, and they stayed there for a couple of days. And as night approached on one of the days that they was there, they saw the stars go across the sky, and they remembered everything that their friend Turtle taught them about the stars, and they began to feel bad that they left their friend Turtle in this puddle that was once a great lake to die. So they took it upon themselves and discussed and decided that they would fly with the rising of the sun back to the lake to get the turtle. So they jumped up and flew back out of the lake and over the new forest and towards the mountain, and they flew and they flew, and they saw the mountain from a distance, and they got happy because they knew that they would be with their friend Turtle again. And they flew over the mountain, and they flew over the forest, and they saw that the forest that was once beautiful was now dried and almost died, almost dead. And they found a single puddle surrounded by mud. And it just so happened that in this puddle, this wise turtle had pushed his butt back into the mud so that he would not dry up. And the swans landed and said, "Brother Turtle, we are so sorry that we left you, but we had to go get some food, and we are back to take you to our new home. The only issue is that you can't walk, and we can't walk because it's much too far for you to walk." So the turtle thought about the problem. And he walked off into the woods, and he came back. And he brought a long stick with him, and he told his swan friends, he said, "Listen, One swan grabbed the stick at one end, the other swan grabbed the other stick at the other end, and I will grab and bite in the middle, and you will fly me to my new home. Now the swans knew that this was an excellent idea because the turtle was wise, but they was concerned because they knew that the turtle wouldn't be able to keep his mouth shut. They said, Brother Turtle, we love your idea, but we need to come up with a backup plan because you're going to run your mouth. So we know that you need to be able to control yourself. So what we need you to do is when you want to talk, just raise your hand. Raise your hand, and we will land no matter where it is, and we will listen to you and have a conversation to keep on, and then get back on the sticks and fly. So the turtle agreed, and he bit down, and the swans grabbed their end, and they took off flying, and they flew over the forest. And before they get out the forest, the turtle was just bursting with something he wanted to tell them. He rose his hand, they landed, and the turtle discussed the thing with him. He told them about the forest, he told them about the trees, he showed them some new herbs, he even pointed out a few strange new animals that these swans had never seen in this dying forest. And then they said, Turtle, we got a long way to go, man. Could you just bite on the stick so we can go? So the turtle shut up, bit on the stick. The swans grabbed their hand, took off, and they flew up and over the mountain. But before they get over the mountain, the turtle was just busting with something, and he just raised his hands, mumbling, and they landed, and the turtle told him about the mountain. And he talked for a while. He said, Turtle, we got a long way to go. We need you to just hold off as long as you can so that we could get here before nightfall. So the turtle grabbed the stick, and they grabbed the two ends of the stick, and they took off, and they flew up and over the mountain, and they flew, and it seemed like a long time, and the turtle was able to be quiet, but then he noticed the new forest, and he got excited. And he saw animals that amazed him, but he knew about them, and he wanted to tell his friends, and he was just dying. And then, on top of his excitement, out the corner of his eye, he could see this new lake, and it was beautiful. And the sun was going down over it, causing it to reflect the light up, and it was a red color, and he was just so amazed, and he wanted to tell his friend about the size of refraction and why the light was red, and he said, hey! And he started falling, and he was falling, and he was falling, and he was screaming, and he was falling, and he was falling, and splat! The damn turtle, our dear friend Turtle, died from the fall because he forgot to raise his hand and he opened his mouth. And the swans sat there and they landed by him and they started crying because they really missed his friend, the swan, and I feel their pain. And they missed the turtle. Well, needless to say, the swans used the knowledge that the turtle had gave them to live a long and prosperous life. But the turtle, because he couldn't keep his mouth shut for a moment, died. Now the lesson in this is one of them. I'm quite sure you could pick up some other ones, but sometimes it's good just to keep your mouth shut. Especially when the expectations have been set for you to keep your mouth shut, and there's a process that you need to follow in order to be able to talk. Follow the process if you're involved with the process, because if not, you will fall to your death. And sometimes, some things don't need to be said. Just keep your mouth shut, or you may fall from a height that you may not be able to survive. And your friends will sit around and they will mourn your passing, but they will move on with their fucking lives as they're supposed to. So listen and learn. And this has been Brother Hatim with the Gye-Nyame Journey. I've enjoyed my time with you, and I hope you enjoyed your time with me, and I hope you got the lesson, and I hope you tune back in for some more stories so that we can learn as adults, because many of us didn't sit on our elders' laps or sit at their feet when they told stories, because we stopped telling stories because for some strange reason we thought that we outgrew this tradition, when this is the way that wisdom was passed on. So take this story, take the cuss words out, and teach your children to shut up. Thank you. And you have a beautiful morning, afternoon, evening, or late night. And I pray that your day will be as beautiful as you are. Peace. This is Brother Hatim. Thank you for your time. And hopefully this will push me past my 5,000 listener. Thank you. Peace. Pass it on to your friends. Forward it. It's a good story. Peace. This is Brother Hatim. I'm coming at you with a folk tale for grown folks. Now, often I ask myself questions. And a lot of times when I allow my imagination, my intuition to work, I get a story which answers the question. So the question that I was asking is, how do I fix a system? Now, of course, you know, whether we're talking about the political system or the economic system or the prison system or the education system, we know that something is wrong in our society. And oftentimes we look at these systems and look for ways to fix them. So I asked this question in general to myself and just let it roll around. And as I was walking my dog on, I think Thursday morning, an idea started to bloom. So here is the idea. Now bear with the story, because at first, as usual, my story don't make any sense or make any connection to the answer that I'm looking for. But just like I do, you have to ride it out all the way out to the end. Now the name of the story is called, Brother, why you riding that horse? That's what I said. Brother, why you riding that horse? Well, in the story, let me set it up for you. You have two brothers, and we'll call one older brother and the other younger brother. They both inherited a company from their father. The father left 50% for each one of them. So they own the business equally. The older brother is basically the CEO, and the younger brother is basically the next man in line. And the father left them a very successful and profitable business. The father basically created his own market, and he provides products and services that he is the originator and the creator. So when he died, he passed this business, this very successful business, on to his sons. Now, we move into the future where the brothers are working in the company and making it successful. It's not as moving as fast as it used to, but the younger brother has an idea, and he approaches his older brother, and the older brother shoot the idea down, because the younger brother want to make some major changes to the business, to the way they do business. And the brother's like, look, what we've been doing, been working, why you want to try to fix something that's now broken? So the younger brother at first is very upset and hurt that his older brother wouldn't even listen to his whole idea. And I mean, he got so upset that he thought about selling his half of the business, because since it was a profitable business, at that point in time, he would have made a lot of money. But he decided not to do that because this business was part of his legacy. And not only was it passed on to his father, the business could survive long enough for him to pass it on to his son. So the younger brother decided that instead of selling the business, he would ride a horse. Now, I know this don't make a lot of sense to those of you listening, and when I got it, it didn't make sense to me. He decided that he would ride a horse to work. Now, the younger brother always loved horses, and as soon as he made enough money in the business, he bought a piece of land out in the outskirts of the city and started raising horses.
His wife took care of the horses during the day, and he loved the horses, and when he was free, he would always ride one. So he decided to start riding his horse to work. Now, there's nothing wrong with riding a horse to work. So he gets up, puts his car up in the garage, and started riding his horse to work. But he knew that his horse would not be able to get to work as fast as his car, so he would have to leave maybe an hour and a half earlier than he used to leave. So he started leaving an hour and a half earlier. And it took him about 2 hours to get to work on a horse when it would really only take him about a half an hour in a car. So he would get to work on time. But because he was getting up so early, eventually it started weighing on him and he began to fall asleep during the workday. So he would fall asleep during meetings, and some of these meetings were important. They weren't just staff meetings. They were meetings with the board. There were meetings with customers, and he would start falling asleep during the day. So the older brother, sent him a message, a very kind message, asking him to get his sleep and get to work and not fall asleep. So the younger brother did the best thing he could. He started sleeping his regular amount of time, as he had been doing for years, and just ride his horse in and get to work the best time he could. But because he was riding his horse, and it took him 2 hours to get to work, he would get to work like an hour, sometime an hour and a half late. Now this really started wearing on the company because many decisions need to be made in the morning and he needed to be there. And since he wasn't there, a lot of stuff got held up and the company started suffering because of it. It wasn't just because of the horse, him riding the horse, but the company started suffering. And the older brother was kind of getting upset. And then also, regardless of whether it rained or snow or whatever, this man rode the horse to work. And he didn't bring a change of clothes, so he would often come into the office smelling like a horse. Sometimes smelling like a wet horse. The horse hair that was on his pants would get all over the furniture that he sat in the office, and he often had to go outside and clean up the poop from his horse, and he took a lot of breaks to go out to groom his horse. And his brother was watching this and hearing about this going on, and he really, really was beginning to get troubled about it. But the final straw was when the younger brother decided to take the 3 best parking spots and turn them into a small barn so that he could protect his horse from the elements. Now, when the older brother came to work and seen the barn, he was livid. He went into the business, didn't say anything to his brother, but because his brother owned 50% of the company, he could have those 3 parts, but this didn't look good for his business. So the older brother was upset. The younger brother was cool because he could go outside and he could mess with his horse, and of course this took up time. And the staff started complaining about the smell and the time that he was spending on a horse rather than making sure that the company was running right. And the final straw that broke the camel's back was when the younger brother came to a very important meeting that was set up by his older brother for a major customer. The younger brother came in late. It just happened to rain that day, and the brother came in smelling like a wet horse. And the company lost the contract. So the older brother sent the younger brother a message that asked the younger brother to come into his office the next day. So, of course, the younger brother was late because he rode the horse in. He tied his horse up into the barn, made sure the hay was together, made sure his horse had water. Then he went into the office. And he went to meet with his brother, and his brother was looking so sad because he didn't know what to do with his brother. He couldn't fire him because he owned 50% of the company, and he wondered about his younger brother's mental health. And he looked at the younger brother, and with tears in his eyes, he like, brother, I know we haven't spoke since you talked about making changes to the business, but I really need to talk to you about this horse thing. And the young brother said, well, go ahead. He said, brother, now, I think it would be a lot easier and a lot more efficient if you was to put your horse up and just continue riding them on the weekends, because I know you love horses. But don't you think it would be better if you was to get in the car and drive to work? The young brother said, no, because I love horses. He said, brother, horses are old-fashioned, they're antiquated. They're slow. They take up too much space. I mean, young brother, why are you riding a horse? And the young brother finally smiled at his older brother. He said, brother, I thought you never asked. He said, I ride a horse because I like a horse. A horse is an excellent form of transportation. But the only problem is it is antiquated. It is slow. And it does take up a lot of space. But I wanted to make the point to you that the way you do business is the same way that I get to work. He said, what you mean? He said, brother, you run our business like it's a horse. The way you do business is antiquated. The way you do business is slow. The way you do business takes up a lot of space. And all I'm talking about, brother, is making some changes so that we can keep up with the times. Your business model is a horse, while we're competing against other people's business model who are using cars and whose business models are a lot faster than ours. Either we are going to change or we are going to go the way of the horse. Now, if you allow me to make changes within the business, I will stop riding my horse to work. And the older brother can allow them to do that. Now, this goes back to my point. That's the end of the story, by the way. And this is the point that, and this is how I looked at the story when it came to me and the answer I got from it. I looked at it and applied it to the system. And the thought came to me that the system is not broken. You can't really fix something that's not broken. Maybe the system is like a horse, because a horse is not broken. The horse is an excellent method of transportation. The horse has helped humanity advance in the way that humanity has advanced. And it's a good form of transportation, but it is not the form of transportation that we need in this day and time, because a horse is antiquated, a horse is slow, and it takes up a lot of space. So when I say that the system is not broken, I know that what I'm saying is that the systems that we are using during the times of the creation probably were the best things going. But now I think as citizens, I think as business people, I think we need to really look at our systems and see, are they horses? Are they too old for the times? Are they antiquated? Are they taking up too much space? And are they too slow? Let's look at our political system, and let's look at what's going on. Let's look at some of our business models. Let's look at our education system. The systems aren't, I don't think that they are broken. I think that they are just old. And I think that they need to be sent and put out to pasture like horses. And we need to bring in new models of transportation in a symbolic way to get us where we want to be and where we want our children to be. Now, this is Brother Tim. I'd like to thank you for your time, and this has been Folktale for Grown Folks. And with that, I say peace.
This is Brother Hatim, and I want to say hi to the group. Hey, the group, can y'all say hi? Hi! All right, now we doing a live story, and we doing right now the story called The Magic Bird. Now, I'm doing it with this group because they already experienced the magic bird, and they know how to do it, don't y'all? Yeah! We gonna turn it out, right? Yeah! All right, so now, this story is called The Magic Bird, and all of y'all know that all my stories start which way? That way and far, 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 far away. Once there was a group of villages. Now, this was the villages of the Gye-Nyame people. And the Gye-Nyame people are known worldwide for all of their accomplishments. But this was before they became famous. Before they became famous, they were attacked by a swarm of birds. Now, these weren't ordinary birds. These was magic birds. And these magic birds would come and take their food, but it would be a particular type of food that they would take. They only would take prepared food. So this means that they never attacked the cows. They never attacked the goats. They never attacked the corn. They never went out in the field or went to the fruit trees. They will only take the food if you have prepared it and made it ready to eat. So that meant that the goats were safe as long as you didn't want to make goat soup. Or the cows were safe as long as you didn't make hamburgers. As soon as you got done cooking it and was about to put it up in your mouth and eat it, guess what would happen? The birds would appear and take it. And this happened to everybody at the same time. So you, and you could all be eating at the same time in different villages, and all at the same time, the birds would appear and do what? So if you had, what's your favorite food? And you had your favorite food? Gotta talk loud. French fries. And you had chicken and rice. And you had broccoli. And you had, all right, somebody said strawberries. You? This one right here that I'm pointing at. Right here, you, in the red shirt. Huh? Hot dogs. And you? Huh? Fudge. Okay, and you?
French fries.
French fries, and you?
Gingies.
All right, and you?
Carrot.
And you?
Hamburger.
And you?
Wendy's.
And you? You know, wait, hold on. You know Wendy's is not a food. What type of food?
Corn.
Okay. And you?
Popcorn.
And you? Okay, double-decker hamburger. Talk loud so you can be heard. And you?
And a sandwich.
Sandwich. Last one. And you?
A pizza.
All of y'all had all y'all food at the same time. These birds would appear and do what? Now, this was going on for a while. And the elders finally came together and decided. The elders came together and decided that they need to handle this situation. They decided that they needed to deal with these birds. So they went and got one guy, because he was an excellent nation builder, and his name was Chaco. And they gave Chaco the responsibility to go out and get rid of these birds. Because these birds was taking all the food, so now the children was miserable. The parents were miserable. The grandparents were miserable because these birds was taking their food. So they told Chaco, they said, Chaco, we're going to give you the responsibility because the future of the villages lie in your hand. So Chaco came, and Chaco decided the best way to handle it was to find the source of the magic. Because magic, just like any other problem that you're going to experience in your life, can be solved best if you get to the root. So magic, if you found the root of the magic, you can stop the problem. So he figured the birds wasn't the root of the magic. He figured the birds were the symptom of the magic. So he wanted to go and find the root of the magic. So what he did was he got the best trackers. Nyame people was famous because they were good trackers. And they sent out a tracker from each village to go out and find where these birds come from. Now the birds moved so fast that you couldn't see them, so it took these trackers weeks. And every now and then they would find a broken branch, and they would follow it. And they would find some magic bird poop. And they would follow it, and they would find a little footprint, and they would follow it. And eventually, they all found where the birds were coming from. And guess where they was coming from? How did y'all know it was a magic tree? It was a magic tree. It was a magic tree. And they brought it back to Chaco, and they said, Chaco, there's a magic tree. And Chaco said, how you know it's a magic tree? They said, we know this land we know this land like we know the back of our hands, and we especially know all the old trees. And this tree wasn't there last season. This tree is bigger than every tree, and this tree looks older than every tree, and none of us, all the trackers agreed from all the villages that none of us have ever seen this tree before. So the tree must be the magic. It must be magic. So Chaco decides, well, this is an easy problem, so we just going to send somebody to chop down the tree. But I wonder who we are going to send to chop down this tree. You know who we're going to send first? Who? That's right. We're going to go to the elders, and we're going to get the elders to chop down the trees because the elders got the most experience. They're going to be able to do it quickly. And since they're dealing with magic, most of the tricks that will come from the tree, the elders will be ready for because they lived a long life. They're wise enough to deal with the magic. So he gathered all the elders around the sacred campground, and he calls them all, and he says, elders, I've gathered you here today because I have an important mission for you. You know that our villages have been plagued. We have had a problem for months. And the very life of each one of these villages and our children and your grandchildren lie in your hands right now. We need to go out. Better yet, y'all need to go out because I'm going to stay here at the command center to make sure everything go well. Y'all need to go out to this magic tree and cut down the tree because I believe that once we get rid of the tree, we get rid of the birds. So the elders at first was kind of like not agreeing, because they like, your logic don't sound right, Sonny. You know what I'm saying? Don't sound right. So Chaco figured he had to get them hyped up. He said, I, like you, am tired of these birds. If you are tired of these birds, let me hear you say yeah. Yeah! If you are you tired of these birds taking your hamburgers? Yeah! Are you tired of these birds taking your pizza? Yeah! Are you tired of these birds taking your broccoli? Yeah! Your goat stew? Yeah! Your hamburgers? Yeah! Your candy? Then you must agree with me that these birds got to go. And Chaco stopped, and then he looked at them like I'm looking at you now, and he said, the only solution is down with the birds.
Down with the birds! 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 Down with the birds!
Down with the birds! They chanted it and chanted it
went and got their spears. They went and got their shields. They went and got their bows and arrows. They went and got their swords. And they all came back to the meeting ground. And they all marched out to the tree. And when they got within sight of the tree, they weren't expecting to see what they saw. This was the most beautiful sight that any of them in all of their long lives had ever seen. The birds sitting on the tree with all the different colors made the tree look like it was on fire. The birds was such a beautiful sight, sitting on this majestic tree out on top of the hill. So they decided that they knew that they had to chop this tree down because that truly was a magical sight. So they surrounded the tree and they put the shields up front. And behind the shields, they put the swords. And behind the swords, they had individuals with spears. And behind them people were the people with the axes. And up farther back was the archers. And they had all set up ready just in case the birds were going to attack. And they slowly moved in on the tree, step by step, watching the birds, making sure that they were not ready to attack. But the birds never moved. Actually, the birds sat there like statues. Every now and then one would move. But they didn't. They just sat there. And as they got close enough to the tree, they put the shields up over their heads, and from behind, everybody ran the best axe people. And they ran up, and they started chopping at the tree. And they did chop, chop, chop. And on the third chop, all the birds looked down at the same time. Then they looked up and they started singing. They started singing a song that was so beautiful and so magical that it stopped the elders in their tracks. Now, this wasn't no ordinary song.
Women, but most important goddesses were black, not just for the African now, in the civilization of the Greek. The Greek was so profoundly affected by the Africans that the goddess of chastity was a black woman, Artemis. The goddess of wisdom was a black woman, Minerva. The goddess of beauty was a black woman, Diana. And many of their great mythological figures which were critical to the vision of history, the history of the Greeks in the Odyssey, the woman who has the power to draw Odysseus and all his crew into her, is Circe, who is represented as a black woman with African features on the Greek vases. The woman who helps Jason win the Golden Fleece is a black woman, Medea. The woman who marries Perseus, the Greek hero, is a
To have melanin embedded in our skin is a gift.
Oh my gosh, when I say too black, you say too strong. Too black? Too strong? Yeah.
We were born to be great.
Oh my gosh, when I say too black, you say too strong. Too black.
Born to be great.
Peace, family. Yo, thank you for joining us. Right? And I'm thrilled to announce the fact that we are now releasing our first free e-course. Come and learn about Gye-Nyame journey. See some of the stuff we do. Come and join the tribe. Tribe up with us and check out the free e-course. I'm going to make sure that the URL pop up right about here. And it'll probably be somewhere in here. Check us out, family, because we are building. Come and learn about Gye-Nyame journey, and let's build together.
Sambo got to go. Sambo got to go. Sambo got to go. Sambo got to go. Everybody knows where they come from. Sigma Pi are not that dumb. Controlling black folks, they don't care. Putting trash on the air. Kill them if they don't leave us alone. Back to their master's throne. Pay the price for their hand in our fate. Fight them with more hate. Can't afford them no more. Sambo got to go. Our schools are filled with lies. Examine our people's cries. Our conditions says a lot about them. For power, who is him? Politician or in a pulpit? Give them all the cane instead. They hate us without pretense.
I want to thank those that took the time joining us today. Hope you guys are now Folktale for Grown Folks. We will be back tonight for the night show. We're going to break down tonight's Folktale. That's Folktale for Grown Folks. Be coming on. I want to thank each and every last one of you for taking the time, for spending this afternoon with us during this quarantine time. Lord have mercy, quarantine time. So family, this is Brother Hatim.
Word from the wise, never catch your girls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine. Word from the wise, never catch your girls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine. Say, the truth is what I'm about to bring. Listen to the message I sing. I want to shine like diamond ring for you, for you, for you. The truth is what I'm about to bring. Listen to the message I sing. I want to shine like diamond ring for you. I want to thank God for the gift that He granted to me, to break down things so you can see the truth, the light, with all my soul. From funk, jazz, and rock and roll, I say we can red rule what's overdue. A revolution you and I may come true. We all born sinner and we won't break free until we overcome hypocrisy. So stop pointing finger, reach to the sky, listen to the message, hold your head high, say na 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 na. Hey, we need to stop speculating and move into action. The war isn't waiting, it's just getting disastrous. Time to change the way we think, what we say, what we do, strategize, find the tools to build and execute. We are the ones that's chosen, chosen. The enemy is closing, closing. They got the masses hypnotized. It's time for us to open their eyes. Word from the wise, never catch pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine. Say, word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine. Yeah, word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine. Yeah. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine. Say, the truth is what I'm about to bring. Listen to the message I sing. I want to shine like diamond ring for you, for you, for you. The truth is what I'm about to bring. Listen to the message I sing. I want to shine like diamond ring for you. I want to thank God for the gift that He granted to me, to break down things so you can see the truth, the light, with all my soul. From funk, jazz, and rock and roll, I say the wicked men rule what's overdue. A revolution you and I may come true. We all born sinner and we won't break free until we overcome hypocrisy. So stop, point finger, reach to the sky. Listen to the message, hold your head high. Say na 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 na. Hey. We need to stop speculating and move into action. The war isn't waiting, it's just getting disastrous. Time to change the way we think, what we say, what we do. Strategize, find the tools to build and execute. We are the ones that's chosen, chosen. The enemy is closing, closing. They got the masses hypnotized. It's time for us to open their eyes. Word from the wise, never catch pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine, divine. Word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine. Say, word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of time, cause they can't see you shine when you walk amongst the blind. Even when you reflect divine. Yeah, word from the wise, never catch your pearls among swine. It's just a waste of